Good. Good evening, everyone. We're going to open the Inlands, Wetlands, and Watercourse Commission for the Town of Trumbull, Connecticut for December 4th, 2025. I'm going to ask our clerk to do a roll call, if she would, please.
Richard Gerard.
Present.
John Loria.
Here.
Carmine DeFeo.
Here.
Rich Deacon.
Here.
David Verespi. Present. Greg Cernico.
Present.
Bob Frigno.
Present.
Town staff Tatiana Solove.
Here.
John Meyer.
Here.
And Attorney Cordone.
I am present. I would ask commissioners to note that you have a button to be able to have the microphone on. When you're not speaking, we request that it be off. Thank you.
All right, and then Greg, if you would read the public hearing notice.
Yes, the Town of Trumbull Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission is holding a public hearing meeting on Thursday, December 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at Trumbull Town Hall. Application 2525, 15 Plumtree LLC, a permit approval to construct 3-story apartment building and 9 attached townhouses, a retaining wall, subsurface storm water detention system, level spreader, sidewalks and storm drainage within a regulated area at 5 and 15 Plumtree Lane.
Thank you, Greg. Went a little out of order here. John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Everyone please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask the applicant's attorney to come forward and to introduce himself and his client for the record. And then after that, we will have a independent third-party report presentation. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hold on, I got it. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Wetlands Commission, I'm Attorney Stephen Bellis. I represent the applicant, which is the owner of the property, 15 Plumtree LLC. I met some of you, I think, on a site walk. So if you don't know, this property is a little bit unique because it's divided between the towns of Easton and Trumbull. So a portion of the apartment building is in the town of Trumbull. A portion of the apartment building is in the town of Easton, and the 9 townhouses are in the town of Easton. So there's no question that the reason I'm here is because there's an upland review area where we have activity taking place, and as you know, this commission is charged with evaluating whether there will be any impact on the wetlands or the watercourse from that activity in the upland review area. I'm not going to go into it right now, but I'll explain a little bit more about the law and upland review area later. But basically our presentation will be simply that we have addressed all the issues that would mitigate or would allow us not to have any adverse impact on those wetlands or watercourses. And in doing that, I will bring up some expert witnesses. I have Michael Lambert, who's an engineer, who'll speak with you a little bit tonight about the storm drainage, the retaining wall, and those kind of issues. I have Matt Popp. He's a soil scientist, biologist, and he will discuss whether there'll be an adverse impact and what can be done to mitigate it. And Jason Edwards will be here as well. If you have any questions, he can help you with. He's also available. The bottom line is, and I know this commission knows, I'm only going to be discussing the wetlands and not discussing zoning issues, not discussing affordable housing, not discussing whether this is the right place for this kind of project. All of that will be done at a zoning hearing. I know your job, and I know you do, but maybe not all the people behind me do, that this is solely an issue of whether this project will have any adverse impact on those wetlands and watercourses. We had a peer review done by, I think it was Land Tech. So I'm going to defer at this time to them. I think Jim wanted to ask me a question first.
Yes, Counselor, if you don't mind,
Not at all.
as we discussed, I just want you to confirm for us on the record the timeline that we had gone over previously. There were some extensions of time. So July 15th, the application was submitted. The date of receipt is 35 days after, which is August 19th. The commission is required to commence a public hearing within 65 days, which would have been October 23rd. The applicant had agreed to an extension of time so that we could receive that third-party report, and the hearing date was scheduled to November 13th, which was a 21-day extension of time. Subsequent to that, there was an issue with the notices that went out and that needed to be corrected. So the applicant requested a new hearing date, which was scheduled for tonight, December 4th, which was an additional 21-day extension, a total of 42 days of the possible 65, and the hearing is commencing tonight, December 4th. Would you confirm that for the record, sir?
I will confirm that. That's what Jim and I discussed, and I agree to that.
Thank you, Counselor. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. I have, just for housekeeping, all the exhibits that I'm going to introduce in a hard copy here. I also have PDF them to Tatiana, and I think Jason Edwards did a Dropbox as well. So I don't know who I hand these to. Back there? Okay.
You got it? Thanks. Thank you. All right. The commission voted to have an independent third-party review completed. Land Tech will now give their report to the commission. Evening.
It's up there. Good evening. My name is Tom Ryder. I'm a senior ecologist with Land Tech, with office in Westport, Connecticut. We were retained to inspect the property on the Trumbull portion for wetlands. We had a soil scientist go out there. And while we're there, we also evaluated the drainage ditch. So what I'll be presenting tonight is the findings of that. The property is, they're going to go into it. I'm not going to go into details on all this kind of stuff, but basically the property is 4.91 acres, and 1.21, as my understanding, is in the Trumbull. On the eastern side, there is well, on the Trumbull side, there's two houses, and on the eastern side, there's the Mill River Brook and its riparian area, and the rest of the area is, on the entire property, is undeveloped. The brook is a Class 1 trout brook, and it's classified as a Class 1 trout brook from the eastern reservoir to the Merritt Parkway, and therefore is a sensitive resource. It's also a Class A water. As I said, Land Tech was retained to evaluate the for the property for any wetlands. Our soil scientist, Anthony Zemba, went out on the property on October 21st, and just recently went out just on December 2nd just to confirm a couple things. And then he prepared a report on December 3rd, which was presented to your commission. The results of that investigation, he walked the entire area. What I'll talk about here is a map here. This area here is the area, well, let's back up a little bit. This area here is the Trumbull Easton line. So this area over here is Trumbull, this over here is Easton. So what I did is I shaded in the area that is within the Trumbull's 100-foot setback from the watercourse. And this distance from here to the, about here, is, I think it's like 53 feet. So Mr. Zemba walked along the sloped area within the town of Trumbull and did not find any inland wetlands. We did walk also the area in Easton and were able to confirm the wetland line. But this application here in front of us today is for the Trumbull side, so I'm reporting that there are no wetland soils on the Trumbull side. While we're there, there is a drainage swale. This was basically shown on the survey, so what all I did was just kind of emphasize it with a darker color so it could be seen tonight. But there is a drainage swale there that receives water from a 15-inch HDPE pipe from, I guess, yeah, right here. So the pipe, the catch basin would go here, there'd be a pipe, and then it would go down to here, and then it daylights, I think, right there. So from that, water has been eroding from that stormwater through this channel down to basically it's a terrace. You have a steep slope, it opens up, levels off a little bit, and it goes a little more steep slope, and then it levels off again. And this channel in portions up here is a defined channel, then it kind of goes to less defined, then there's a little section here which is more defined, and then again it goes into less defined, and then it dissipates into the flat terrain of the riparian area. So we looked at this area to find out if this channel, meets the definition of an intermittent watercourse. Now in Connecticut, an intermittent watercourse is defined as having a permanent channel, and if it does have a permanent channel, then it must have two of the following characteristics. Must have evidence of scour or recent alluvium or detritus, must have the presence of hydrophytic vegetation, or the presence of standing water for a duration longer than a particular storm event. So we looked at the channel, and it does have a defined channel. So then we move forward to the other three characteristics. And again, it has to have two of the following three. So we evaluated it again, and we did see scour. Therefore, we did see alluvium or eroded soil. And there's some pockets, I don't know exactly where, but it's just general area here. There's other pockets down here. So there are occasional pockets of alluvium, so it did meet that requirement. It did not have any hydrophytic vegetation. So the last one would be, does it have any standing water for a duration longer than a particular storm event? When we were there, it did not. So we then went back. I went back, it was at Halloween, the morning of just, October 31st. There was, previously had about 2 inches of rain, I think it was 2 inches of rain, the night before and into that morning. And I went out there to look at the channel, and I did not see any standing or flowing water in that channel. We then go to Bill Kenny's report, soil scientist for the applicant. Mr. Kenny states that he was there on August 9th and May of 23, and then May 8th of 2025. And he states that he did not see any flowing water or standing or flowing water in those channels. Now keep in mind this is a drought year, so what we did then is look at when Mr. Kenny, because when I was there in early October, it hadn't rained in a while, so I couldn't tell if there was standing or flowing water when I was there. So that's why I went back on the 31st. However, we looked at the dates that Mr. Kenny, well, I don't know if it's Mr. Kenny, William Kenny Associates went out to the site. William Kenny Associates looked at the site, and again, they were on the August 9th and May 28th. So what we did is we looked back at the rainfall for those dates to find out if there was a good amount of rain, if he selected those dates properly. And the rainfall that we found was before August 9th of 23, had 2 days of rain totaling about 0.92 inches. And on May 28th, there was 0.26 inches of rain. Apparently he is also out on June 20th, I'm sorry. And that was like 4 days of rain totaling about 0.17 inches of rain prior to that. So he had gone out after 3 rain events and did not see any, well, he reported in his report that he did not see any flow. So the other data that we looked at was from Trumbull staff. We received some photographs from Tatiana, who sent them on to us, and it said that they had inspected the channel on May 16th. And I looked back at the rainfall data, and I think I saw 0.21 inches of rain the day before. And they did see, and they showed a picture, it was a kind of grainy picture, a small picture, but there was flow in the channel at that point. So, and the dates from when they did it to was, I guess, William Kenny Associates was out there a couple days later. So town staff was out there on the May 16th, and then William Kenny Associates was out there on May 28th, and they saw different results. I can't square those. I wasn't there on either one of them. I'm just presenting the data. But again, when we were out there the first time, we did not have the opportunity to actually see the sites after a rain event. So that's why I went back out on October 31st when there was rain to get our own data. And the data that I saw was that we did not see any flow. And keep in mind, this predominant flow in this channel, and the reason this channel was formed, from our experience on this site, is that it receives stormwater from this culvert, which goes down to catch basin, which then goes in this culvert, and then daylights here, and then flows down. So once the storm event ends, the roadway dries up, and there's no more water going into the channel. If there was any springs or anything, we probably would have seen that in the channel. However, again, our site investigations did not see that. So that is our report of wetlands and the watercourse on the property. I understand that they're going to be giving a presentation, the application, applicants will be, but I will be here to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, David.
Mr. Ryder, did you do auger testing around the soils around the end of the culvert? When we were there in May, there was standing water and there was presence of, obligative wetland species at the end in that area. And what did your soils testing show?
Right. Okay. So what you're referring to is where the pipe daylights at the channel, right? Is that your question? Okay. That's one of the reasons that Mr. Zemba went back on, was it December 2nd? I want to make sure I have the date right, I think it was the 2nd. It was last Tuesday. As he wanted to clarify a couple things, and he went over and looked at that very area and did not see any wetland soils. Now, keep in mind, wetland soils in Connecticut are very specific. They're drained or poorly drained. They have certain redoxomorphic features on it. I am not a soil scientist, but Anthony Zemba did write a fairly detailed report on it, and he did not see any wetland soils in that area or elsewhere on the property, in the Trumbull side.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. You mentioned there were no hydrophilic species visible. Is it possible that due to the time of year they were not visible, or perhaps you can elaborate on that?
Yes, I've been evaluating intermittent water courses for, 25, 30 years, whatever it is. And you typically would see remnant species. There are some species that occur in the spring and then they die back. And then there Well, be other species of hydrophytic vegetation that would be there in the summertime, and they would persist into early fall when we were there. And usually on these intermittent watercourses, usually just don't see one or two little species, in a small area. Usually they would be scattered throughout, and there would be evidence of that, and we saw none of that.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, John.
So the source of the water that goes into the drainage channel is from catch basins. So if the catch basins weren't properly maintained by the town, would the amount of water that goes through the channel change? And maybe at that point, it becomes more defined because the water may last longer? Because we do have some retention from the deep sumps in the catch basins themselves. So if those were to fail and fill up to the top, would we have it changed?
Right. So we did not look at the maintenance records of that, but what really defines a channel is there water after an event. So if there is, for instance, a pond up ahead, whether a catch basin, if there's a pond up ahead and it has to right to a certain point before it spills over, which is the same it would be as the catch basin, then that water course would be rated as the same way as it is here. And is this water course, well, is this channel receiving water after a storm event? And our opinion is no. So, even if this catch basins and the pipes were cleaned out, maybe they would. I can't speak to that. I don't have the maintenance records on it. But from what I'm seeing in the field and how the vegetation is adapting to the water flow in this channel, it does not seem that this channel is able to maintain flow for longer than a storm event, if that answers your question.
Anyone else from the commission? All right, either of our town engineers, Tatiana or John, do you have any questions or comments?
Through the chair. Mr. Ryder, could you please confirm if a record map from 1959 was part of your report or evaluation?
The record map from 1959, we did not look at that, no.
I believe that staff shared it with you, where it shows a spring across the street, crossing Plumtree, and contributing to that channel.
Right. We did look at it initially. We did receive the plan and look at the plan, but what we're looking at is conditions of today, and is this functioning as an intermittent watercourse now? So therefore, that 1959 plan didn't play a role in our current assessment, I guess is the way I should be saying it.
Okay, thank you. Do you think this spring across the street should be investigated, or if still contributing toward this watercourse, would that change your determination or not?
Well, that was kind of the reason why I was thinking that maybe you had seen, well, whoever in your office had seen flow after a storm event, and I don't know how long after the flow was seen. But what we were thinking originally, what I was thinking is that maybe the groundwater in the seep was actually higher due to the spring conditions, and therefore it would have a longer flow period because you'd have this stormwater coming off of the pipe from the road, it's the catch basin, into the road and into the channel, and then there may be an alternative source from the spring. And why we couldn't see it in October is because after a drought period, there would be lower water, therefore it wouldn't make it over a certain threshold, and they wouldn't make it into the channel. So that's why I put all the dates in there versus when your staff went out and looked at it versus when Bill Kenny Associates looked at it, because we were not out there in the spring, but both of those teams were, and you saw there were a difference in results. So Yes, there could be a spring that is in there, but from the evidence I saw, and we were looking around, from vegetation perspective and scour and all that, and from the conditions we saw, we did not see any evidence of the spring.
Okay, thank you.
All right. No other questions from the commission? We're good? All right, Attorney Bellis?
Good evening again. For the record, Attorney Stephen Bellis. So I've given the commission a book of my exhibits, and as I said earlier, we have provided Tatiana those same exhibits in a PDF format. And I'm going to just highlight a few of the things, and then I'll have my experts talk. The first one I gave was a wetlands memorandum. A lot of this you may already know, but what the point I'm trying to make was that we are in an upland review area. So the fact that there's activity in the upland review in and of itself does not bar or require a commission to deny a permit. What the point of this commission is to determine whether the activity in this upland review area, whether it will have an adverse impact or whether it will have a significant impact is another word that's used. And the significant impacts are listed right in your regulations, and I've put them in the memo. And there's, I believe, in your regulations, 7 points that you look at to see whether there's a significant impact. And I have gone through those 7 different factors, and based on what you're going to hear tonight from our experts, is that the evidence is just the opposite, that there's not going to be a significant impact as defined in your regulations on those wetlands or the watercourse. Matt Popp, who will speak tonight, concluded that the proposed drainage system and the mitigating plants and using best management practices will ensure that there will not be any adverse impacts. So you'll hear his testimony. Mike Lambert will lay out the drainage, storm drainage, and those sort of things. I asked him to include some drainage details, which he's done, and it's in one of the exhibits where it's a beefed up, I call it the Cadillac version of storm drainage. It costs more money to do, but it ensures that there's no problems with the quality of the water, and I'll let him explain that to you. But the bottom line is that the commission, cannot find that an activity in the upland review area is prohibited unless they make a specific finding of an actual harm that's going to happen. Mere speculation, as you know, or possibilities are not enough according to our appellate court. So in this particular case, I think I'd like to start with the engineer and let him explain to you some of the things that we're doing that will protect these wetlands and the watercourse. When I say wetlands, I know there's wetlands in Trumbull, but there's also the Mill River behind it, so it's wetlands and watercourse. The land tech gentleman that testified is correct. There's no wetlands in Trumbull. However, the wetlands are in Easton, and in my opinion, those wetlands are within 100 feet, so you have jurisdiction to look at this. There's no question about that. So we're not arguing about that. The exhibits that I've provided, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but we did a wetlands delineation report that Bill Kenny did. It's dated August 9, 2023, and that shows you where the wetlands are. Bill also did a report of May 12, 2025. That's after he did a field inspection. He concluded that there was we were talking about that channel a little bit, that is not an intermittent water course. I've given you the DEEP and DDDB report. I've given you a report from Environmental Land Solutions, and Matt Popp will talk about that report. I've given you a geotech report. That's where we did some borings. It's dated November 26th. The best that I can recall from that report was that the groundwater is 16 feet below the surface, at 16 feet or greater, so below the surface, based on the test holes that were dug. I've given you a full stormwater management report. I put the report in the book that I handed you and the PDF. All the exhibits that are about 100 pages are in the Dropbox if you need to refer to the appendixes. We have detailed landscape plans. We took into account some recommendations from the town of Fairfield and others. And then, as I said, I've given you, we'll go over some drainage details that are even more stringent than are necessary. And finally, the plans, the maps themselves, we can go over those so you can see where the retaining wall is. And that retaining wall, in my opinion, acts as a barrier to protect any development. In front of the wall will be protected, and behind the wall is where the wetlands and the Mill River is. So we'll go over that. So without, that's kind of the general overview. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you can ask my experts. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring up Michael Lambert. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name's Michael Lambert. I'm with Lambert Civil Design, located 34 Misty Lane, Monroe, Connecticut. Licensed civil engineer, primarily focused on the stormwater system for this, but I'll be talking about the full plans. So today, we do have the 60-unit apartment complex, 9 townhouses. 30 of those apartment units are going to be in Trumbull. And we do have 2 driveway accesses off of Plum Tree Lane that will be entering into our site, where you're able to either go to the left or right and be able to access the underground parking lot for the 60-unit apartment complex, or any of the additional above-ground parking areas on site. One of the biggest factors for this site is that stormwater component. We do have a 137 unit concrete chambers. They're going to be underground under the parking garage. That is going to be able to detain, treat that water, and help regulate it off-site to the north. Kind of just quickly talking about the collection system, we originally had gone your traditional catch basin to catch basin connections. We have modified that, so now we are what's called an offline system, where our catch basins are going to be 4 feet deep, have hooded outlets, and are now connected into manholes that will act as a trunk line to our detention system. Likewise, before we get into our detention system, we do have a hydrodynamic separators that will help treat that stormwater during that first 1.3 inches of storm runoff. And those have been taken offline as well, meaning that the primary catch manhole that's connected to them will allow that low flow stormwater to go into them, get treated, and go into the system. Any high level flows, such as the 5-year, 10-year storms, something more significant, will have a bypass area in that manhole before it gets to the water quality structure and go into the underground system. Both these features of having the catch basins with the deep sumps, hooded outlets, and the hydrodynamic separators being offline does provide a much more significant water treatment system than what we had originally planned. And then the underground system, that is significantly sized. Right now, during the 2-year storm, it is a self-contained system, so during the 2-year storm, there is going to be no discharge out of that system. that's kind of doing two things of helping our peak flows and our peak volumes going off site. That's being a major component of decreasing that runoff from our site. The other component of that too is that being able to treat that first inch of storm or that 2-year storm is we're decreasing the temperature of that runoff, because as during the summer months, that asphalt, the parking lot's going to get heated up, that rain hits that pavement, you're going to increase that runoff, and going into that Mill River is never a good thing of having heated stormwater go into that river. So having our system designed the way that we have, it can detain that water, treat it, cool it down, and then during the 5-year, 10-year, 50-year storms that can get discharged off-site, it's going to be a much cooler time, because when you get that heavy rainstorm, by the time that heavy flow actually goes through, that water's already treated, it's already cooled down. You don't have that first instant kind of heat flash from the pavement. And through our system, let me see if I can, so we do have the outlet control structure up in the back area of the building, where it'll get routed behind the building to a catch basin that's kind of just catching the walkway area behind the buildings, and put into a little concrete level spreader that's going to help regulate those flows going off-site. And then we had done a concrete structure where you've got weep holes in the side and an 8-foot riprap apron. That, I believe, is much more beefed up than a traditional swale and berm that sometimes you see on systems like this, that you want to spread out that flow of going off-site and not have a point discharge similar to what we're seeing at the existing town system on Plumtree Lane. From the Plumtree Lane area, let me see if I can. So from the Plumtree Lane area, we are trying to capture that existing runoff, put it into 2 manholes, and then have a kind of open catch basin at the top of our retaining wall on top here. Then we're going through a series of manholes that are going to be on site until it goes to the bottom side of our retaining wall. And then you see a much larger concrete level spreader off here to the side, and that is primarily just focused on the runoff from Plumtree Lane. And really the size difference between the two is because there is a significant flow of Plumtree Lane that is going through that system, and having this much longer level spreader is going to help dissipate that flow, not have that point discharge, so we're not creating any sediment runoff, any erosion in the surrounding soils. So that is kind of handling that. And then one of the other factors that now comes into play with our system is that the erosion controls of during construction of the site, we do have a double row of catch basin, or excuse me, double row of silt fence at the downhill slope of our development. That's going to have a hay bale in between them, so you're going to have a silt fence, hay bale, silt fence, kind of a more beefed up erosion control protection between our site and the Mill River and the wetlands. And that's just more of kind of one of our thought processes is process for our site development at this place. Now I'll turn it over to Matt Pop to talk about the wetlands and the planting plan.
Would the commission like to ask questions in between, before? So,
Through the chair.
go ahead, John. Sorry, Matthew.
I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around this drainage ditch that's not an intermittent water course when I've been on site and I take a look at it, the scouring on the side of that ditch has got to be, in some places, a foot high, which means that had to take a lot of velocity of water to create such a ditch. To me, it doesn't look like it was a slow process of erosion, but once in a while you get huge blasts of water going through there. Do we ever have any idea what the peak flow could be of that water, and if these pipes that you're providing here would be able to handle that type of flow? Well, you're looking at it too, it looks like the only treatment of that water is that one little open catch basin on the top of the wall. Maybe you can correct me on that as well.
Yeah. So, kind of, as Jason's helped me with trying to open this up, I don't have the exact peak flow numbers off the top of my head right now, but when we did do the drainage analysis, I ended up almost pretty much walking the entire Plum Tree Lane neighborhood, trying to get a feel of what that watershed is. And on the overall watershed, we did look at pretty much everything that's flowing uphill that I could kind of see of where all the catch basins are flowing to, and that's all been taken into consideration when we designed this system. And that's one of the reasons why kind of primarily that, hey, let me just see if just go to the end. So I don't know if you can kind of really see this, but as our site's down here, we do have really a lot of this main area that's flowing down through here that does, or is it actually really this one? So I believe it's just really this area that kind of come up here that does flow into our sites. Let me just double check one. Yeah. So this is more of the existing additions. So we do have, whoop. Where is this? Last one. Oh. So it is that kind of 2S area that is flowing in there that goes into that Plum Tree Lane. So that area was taken into consideration for the sizing of the pipes, for sizing of the that level spreader. But I don't have the exact peak flows for you.
Again, based on just looking at the scouring, there must be some times that you have a huge amount of water running through there. You know, you go out and test certain times, but you haven't gone out and observed a 5-year flood or something greater than that to see what's really going on in those cases.
The pipe system, the pipe capacity, and the sizing of level spreader was designed to handle a 100-year flow. So although I haven't been out there to see the 50-year flow or a 10-year storm, a lot of the calculations were taken off of the pipe capacity of what can the pipes handle, what kind of flows would be able to go through those pipes, and that's what we design our pipe collection system off of.
Okay, and again, my only concern is what I can see with my own eyes.
Yep.
And the scouring that exists. And I'm just curious, how much water flow would it take to produce that kind of scouring? And are your pipes sized to take that type of water flow?
The pipes are sized to take that water flow, and it's, I guess, kind of going back to if the town has the mapping from 1950, I forget the exact date, but so that pipe and that system's been out there for 60 years, 60 plus years. A lot of that flow, yes, will eat away at any type of soil for 60 years if you have that point discharge. And that's, I can only assume that was probably what happened, was that if you put a point discharge and 60 years of water flowing through it, you're going to slowly eat away at it because it's probably not maintained, doesn't have any riprap to slow down that flow, and you're just pushing the water out. That's going to eat away at any soil that's not rock, ledge, concrete. So any type of soft sands is going to get eroded away. So it's kind of tough to say is like what kind of flow through it, but having 60 plus years of water flowing through it, you're going to eventually eat away at that soil.
Yeah, I would agree. If you had 60 years of low flow, though, you would have rounded blanks, right? If you had sometimes real hard rains, then you erode the whole thing, and you have sharp banks, as I observed in the field.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to say with the soils of, yeah, you get the low flows, you're going to get more of a defined channel, but then you get those heavy rainstorms, it's going to eat away at it differently. So it's, you've got, it, and even the storm events, it's hard to predict when we're going to get hit with stuff, because like I live in Monroe, I've seen what happened last August when we had that 100-year, 500-year storm. Mm-hmm. You just never know when something like that's going to happen, and it's even periodically having those storms every 10 years, 20 years is going to differently affect how that erosion is going to happen. Because it's even, I guess, going on a bigger look of things of, I used to go boating on the Connecticut River, that constantly changes every year, and even though that's a major river, you've got different embankments that are always kind of slowly being eaten away. So it's really hard to pin down what kind of storm, how often it's going to happen, to determine exactly what's going to happen with the subsoils.
Okay. Commissioners?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
So looking at your drainage plan here, you've got a large series of concrete infiltrators underneath the apartment buildings,
Yes.
and that's receiving the majority of the water from the site. It appears that that overflows to a small section of level spreaders in the back, and then there's a series of 2 catch basins that feed directly into that level spreader and don't go into any other infiltration, correct?
Correct.
The 2
No.
catch basins behind the apartment building go directly into the level spreader.
Yes.
They do not feed back into the infiltrators.
Correct.
You've got dumpsters shown on top of a catch basin that feeds directly into the level spreaders.
Those are manholes. So because of, we kind of have that step in the site contrast for the
what-
elevations, but, sorry.
What drainage pollution remediation is being done for the drainage that comes off of those dumpster pads? Those dumpster pads are not going to stay pristine. You can eat dinner off them, sort of. They're
Yeah.
going to be gross. They're going to be nasty. You're going to have pollutants that come through out of there. And right now, they're going to find their way into that manhole, unless it's a hermetically sealed manhole. Or they will go down and find their way into the catch basins in the driveway and then get infiltrated into the site. Is there any pollution collection for the dumpster areas?
So for that manhole that's right at kind of the front of the dumpsters, we can easily change that to be a watertight frame, so nothing should be getting into it. But the runoff from that will get directed to the catch basins. But as I kind of said before, those catch basins are all going to have 4-foot sumps, hooded outlets, so any trash, debris that gets into them, what happens with the hood outlet is that when the kind of the hood is there, the water elevation is pretty much right at the bottom of that hood.
Right.
So any of the water is going to get kind of sucked up underneath that hood, and any trash debris.
pollutants, oils, other solubles,
Yeah. So a lot of the what they call the
they'll just find
total
its
suspended solids will get trapped in that catch basin. We'll have to get cleaned out.
oils,
Pretty much on an annual
grease,
basis. So the oils and grease, anything
Antifreeze.
that may go into, be able to make its way underneath that hood and into the system, that low flow is going to get directed into that hydrodynamic separator before it goes into the underground system, and has a chance to get treated through that.
Where is the hydrodynamic separator?
So that is this circle right here where the hand is. I guess one, let me see.
I'm looking at your sheet out, site plan 2.1.
Yeah. So the
Can you direct me to your sheet?
DR3, so it's gonna be one of the last page in the site plan. So
Okay.
where the dumpster pad is here, we've got catch basins over here that if the flow goes into this catch basin, it goes to this manhole, goes to a 6-foot diameter manhole here. The low flows are gonna get routed to the manhole to the I guess the top of that, and it still looks like a normal, from our symbol, it looks like a normal manhole. Little circle there, that's a water quality structure, or the hydrodynamic structure, and then that will get routed into the underground system. And any high level flows goes to a pipe that's elevated 6 inches above that, and that will go into the underground system on this side. So there's multiple points that any water from that dumpster pad will get treated.
Okay. There's an opportunity, and I know the commission's very concerned about the water coming off of Plumtree Lane, the existing culvert, the ditch. Was there any opportunity to, if you go back to your 2.1,
Yep.
where you've got that head wall above the 8-foot wall,
Yep.
is there an opportunity to do a water quality basin there with wetlands plantings where you could intercept the water coming off of Plumtree, and then have it be there with a high water overflow that would then go into the system? That would allow for treatment of the water coming off of Plumtree before it has an opportunity to get into your system.
There was a thought process of trying to do something like that, but because of kind of that steep grade going straight from Plumtree Lane down to that point, it's a very difficult area to try to put something a little bit flatter. We are picking up this pipe that comes down. We are picking up it within a catch basin, or not a catch basin, a manhole to another manhole before it goes into the catch basin on site. So it's, I guess, trying to do some type of rain garden, water quality basin there. Just kind of get a little bit difficult with the elevation change. Because we are looking at pretty much near the roads, 194, and then our systems, let's see, is really around like a 183, so it's really like a 10-foot drop straight from the roadway to that head wall catch basin area. And it's a very short distance, so that's
From
probably
the-
one of the steepest spots on the property.
So there's a 7-foot grade change from where that wall comes out to that head wall.
I'm sorry? I don't know what he had for Yeah, I guess I'm just more of seeing closer to 10 feet elevation from the road to that kind of intersection point of that catch basin that we have, or catch basin head wall.
So there's no opportunity to do any sort of rain garden water quality basin there to improve the quality of that water?
Not something on that steep of an area. Right now, I'm not coming up with anything off the top of my head that you would be able to do something like that in this area. Yeah, in this area, I don't see a possible solution to be able to add a rain garden in that area. But like kind of I said before, like we do have ends up being a 76-foot level spreader off the downhill side of that, and those are a concrete structure. Let me just pull it down here. So if you see on DR3 in the top left corner, it is more of a really concrete structure, so there's going to be added volume there that will be able to help kind of treat that water, infiltrate it, at least during the 2-year storm, first inch of rainstorm. And then as it leaks out of the weep holes, it does go into a riprap apron that's going to help slow down that flow going off site, and be able to provide some treatment to that discharge system. But at the point intersection directly off Plumtree Lane, it's just because of the site being so steep in that area, I don't see a feasible way to be able to kind of carve out an area in that without really adding more retaining walls and being able to somehow be able to create a flat area out there.
Okay. The existing house is staying,
Correct.
and can you explain how the drainage works behind that on top of the
Yeah, so we do have 2 area
12
drains.
to 18 foot tall wall?
Yeah. So as this site kind of flows off and just the layout of our parking lot and our retaining walls, we did end up creating 2 low spots within the retaining walls that we are collecting with area drains. Those are area drain, but we still have a 4-foot sump hooded outlets before it goes into the town system. And the thought process behind that, we are capturing probably the roof runoff from that, but majority of that site's all wooded, or well, I guess would be more grassed areas. So you have kind of the treatment from the grass that you don't have any additional impervious area that we really have to treat. So the thought process is just to route that into, I guess, call it the town system that would get directed into the pipe system that goes out to the larger level spreader.
Right, so the water from that property is being redirected around
Correct.
this property.
Yeah.
How big are those area drains?
2 foot by 2 foot frames.
Okay, that's my questions on the drainage. Thank you.
All right,
Through the
Rich,
chair.
I see your motion. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, a couple quick comments. The new curb cuts will be significantly farther west and downhill from the existing catch basin. The source of the pipe where that eventually flows out to the riprap. This water is now going to be flowing off the road at 2 new places that it has not currently been flowing directly toward the Mill River. So is there some type of mitigation for these new sources of water that are now going to be flowing on the property that currently are either going into the catch basin or going directly down the road? It would appear that more water is being diverted. It would be west. There's 2 additional entryways there, the curb cuts.
So are you asking about the runoff from our driveways into Plumtree, or?
No, I'm saying that the runoff from Plumtree now has 2 new sources, 2 new opportunities to go directly
So
toward the watercourse.
The grading for the driveways is going to kind of be like a, I guess more or less a crown. So when you first go in, the first, I believe 15 feet or so is going to be a upgrade slope before you go back down into the site. So it's going to theoretically act as a berm between the runoff from the road and our site. So there, any of the water that does flow down here, if it tries to come into here, pretty much that driveway is kind of lipped up and kind of built up before it dips down back into our site. And that's just going to hold that water back and continue it down the gutter line that currently does right now along Plumtree.
Okay. And when will I have an opportunity to discuss the letter from July 10th from William Kenny?
What's it pertain to? I don't have it in front of me.
It's the watercourse delineation. There's a part in which it says immediately uphill from the eastern edge of the channel in the town of Trumbull, there's a short segment of a steep man-made slope covered with riprap stabilization. The riprap slope does not include a permanent defined channel, and as such, I find that the steep riprap slope is not a regulated watercourse. Riprap isn't soil, so water flowing over the riprap doesn't have an opportunity to create a channel because, you know, it's we're not dealing with geologic time here. These are large boulders. If the riprap wasn't there, is there some way to determine whether or not that would have created a channel and thus qualified as a watercourse if the rocks hadn't been placed there?
Who is the author of that letter?
That would be from
Bill
Mr. Kenny.
Yeah. Mr. Pop can try to answer that, but yeah. So yeah, when Matt Pop, our soil scientist, landscaper, when he comes up and does his presentation, he'll be able to better answer that.
Of course, thank you.
All right.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Greg.
I didn't notice anything, but are you guys preparing maintenance schedules, maintenance procedures for all these separators and?
Yes. So in the stormwater manual report that I have, I did provide a operations and maintenance report that can easily be pulled out and would have to be kind of gives a step-by-step idea to the owners after development of what they have to do for inspections, how often they have to do the inspections. So there is something within that report that would outline what you're asking for.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Carmine.
A few questions. There's apparently two entrances to the underground parking.
Yes.
Is there a French drain or something in front of that to collect any water? Trench drain.
So the idea behind the grading here is that, again, we're kind of creating a low spot, well, to the left side of our development. We're creating a low spot on this corner, so anything, when you kind of drive in, you're going to dip down to low spot and then drive kind of back up and then go into the site or go into the garage. So it's kind of, act as a high point at that spot, so everything's going to kind of flow out. Same thing on the other side is that we have a catch basin out here. It's going to act as a low spot. So when you kind of drive back into, or when you drive into the garage, you're kind of driving back up. So anything within the garage is going to be self-contained. We do have, preliminarily, we are showing a central catch basin that's going to get routed to a oil water separator. And because it's a floor drain within a building, it's looked at as sanitary discharge, so that's going to get routed to the sewer system that we're proposing. We're only showing one catch basin at the moment just because we don't have the internal plumbings of the building designed yet. But at that time, further information will have to be provided as part of the building permit. But we will have to, either way, direct any stormwater runoff that is collected within the garage would have to get routed to an oil water separator and then into the sewer system.
Another question. Attorney Bellis mentioned that the groundwater was a minimum of 12 feet below. At what elevation are you talking about?
So we do have
16
we
feet.
had 2 test holes that we dug that went down, I believe, 13 and 14 feet. And we had 2 borings within the building that were dug down to 15 and 16 feet. All 4 soil testings never encountered groundwater. We didn't encounter what's called modeling or redox, which would be seasonally high groundwater. There was never any ledge or hard pan that was encountered. So for our system to, I guess at the high point of the system of where it is, well, excuse me, at the point of the existing contours at the high point where our system's going to be, we are, from that 13 feet, we're only about 9 feet deep. So we have a 4-foot elevation difference between the bottom of that 13 feet to the bottom of our system. So any infiltration that our system has will not be impacted by anything that might be deeper than the 13 feet that we noticed.
So your test borings were at the elevation of the parking garage?
They were within the areas of the parking garage. So what they were...
You're not
kind of-
answering the question. What elevation?
What elevations? I mean, I was showing one test boring at elevation 160 and 158.
166.
Yeah, the garage floor is at 166. The bottom of our chambers is at 157. So technically with this boring B1 that we have, we're only a foot in the ground there. With B2 at 160, we're 3 feet in the ground there. From where our proposed system is going to be. So it's a little bit funky of a design that overall site that we are cutting into the hill side here to bury these, and then these chambers will either be at grade or maybe a foot above the existing grade. So that area would have to be built up. But
Okay. Last question. Numerous times you mentioned that flow was going off-site. Can you explain a little bit more of what you mean by that and where you're talking about?
so the flow from our detention system?
Yes.
Yep. So this parking area up here is going to get kind of into our collection system, put into the underground system through this driveway entrance or the garage entrance. This side of the parking lot is going to get collected by these 2 catch basins, put into the underground system here. And then we have a outlet control structure off the back side of the building that kind of goes into a manhole. It's going to have a weir wall to regulate the flows out of our detention system. We do have this catch basin that will get routed to it. That will also get routed to this catch basin over here. And that will have a pipe that drops down, goes through our retaining wall and into the level spreader off of this area. And then that's what's going to get directed to the west or the plan top before in the direction of the wetlands and the Mill River.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? David, did you have something? No. Town engineers, either Tatiana or John, do you have any comments or questions?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Just a quick housekeeping item. We received a revised set today. Obviously, we'll review it, but it appears that it is not maybe a full set. So for easiest way for us to review is to get one complete copy of drainage report and a full set, and then for the commission we need 10 hard copies.
Right.
Okay? Just full set, not partial. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, David.
I'm reviewing the documents on my device here so I can zoom in on it, and that was downloaded off of the agenda for today's meeting. And what's available online is not what is on the screen.
Because they were sent today.
It's hard to review the application when we don't have current documents.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, John.
We have two level spreaders in this design. A small one, which is taking the water from the detention system under the parking lot. It looks like a very big one. It seems to be addressing, at least partially, this intermittent watercourse that doesn't carry much water. Why is the size of this one so much bigger? This would be the one on the right.
Yeah.
Why is it so much bigger in size than the parking garage detention system?
It's the flows that are going through Plumtree Lane and goes into the catch basins and being kind of discharged downslope from Plumtree Lane. That does have a significant size of a watershed contributing to it, but there's nothing that is going to hold that water back. So it's just kind of free flowing, and and our system here is designed off of that 100-year storm that kind of flows through those pipes. So you might have a much longer area that you kind of have to contribute for. The reason for the smaller site here is primarily because of our detention system, that we are able to hold back so much more water. We are able to treat it, retain it, infiltrate it, and regulate the flows that are going off through the system. So in comparison of the flows that go through this system here, it is significantly less of a flow that's going through our outlet control structure over here and being released through our detention system than what is currently or proposed to be flowing from Plumtree Lane.
Okay, thank you.
Are we good? All right.
Thank you,
Think,
Mr. Chairman. I'll
we're
turn
good.
over
If you
to
want to bring
Matt
Matthew
Pop now.
on. Okay.
Good evening, Matthew Pop, landscape architect, professional wetland scientist. I'm not a soil scientist. I'm, again, professional wetland scientist, similar to Mr. Ryder. I prepared the landscaping plan, which you see up on the screen. I also prepared the environmental assessment. Just like to comment maybe on the drainage channel that runs through the site that we talked quite a bit about. I think it was August 3rd of last year, we had that major rainstorm. I think it rained like 7 inches in 3 hours in Monroe. I worked out a site with Jason Edwards here in Monroe, and after that rainstorm, the site looked quite a bit different than it did, the year before. Again, there's some of the channels were extremely deep, a lot of erosion. So I'm thinking that channel was a result of that. I think it was August 3rd storm event. It's okay. Just for orientation, Plumtree is down at the bottom of the sheet. South Park is over here on the left side. The Mill River is up on the top up here. The property line kind of runs right through the center of Mill River, so it kind of flows again from the east to the west and then off the site. It is a Class 1 water course for trout. The wetland line, just to get oriented, it's kind of a faint purple line right through here. It kind of wraps around up to this area here. Just before I get to that, let me just talk about the topography. Plumtree Road up here. As soon as you get off of Plumtree Road, it slopes steeply down. You almost can't walk down it. You have to hold on to trees and branches to get down maybe like 7 or 8 feet to this area. And then from here to maybe about here, it's not as steep, but it's still somewhat steep. And then when you get to down through here, to kind of the northern half of this site or third of this site, it's fairly level. and that's where we find the wetlands. Again, it's steeply sloping right here, more gradual through here, and then at the bottom, I would say it's gently sloping towards the river. There's an kind of right through here. There's an old farm road. Stone wall that kind of crosses the site. This house, the town line, just so I should have made this a little darker. The town line kind of follows through here, through here, through here. This house here is in Easton. That is to remain. There's a house right here. It's very faint. That's the house in Trumbull. That will be removed. There's a driveway that comes around the southwest side. Behind the house, I would call it, it's a lot of non-native invasive plants. There's some Japanese knotweed back here. The site is fairly wooded, except for, again, around this house and around this house here. But when you get to this portion of the site, right behind the Trumbull house, the north of the Trumbull house, it's sparsely wooded, so it's somewhat open in character. The understory, when you go to a site like this, there's not much understory. It's sparse. Tells me that there's a lot of deer around the site. Around the house sites, they're typical ornamental plantings: forsythia, Alberta spruce, Andromeda, pachysandra, quite a bit of pachysandra right through here. There's some hosta. The wooded areas contain oaks, beech, number of beech. The beech trees have beech leaf disease, like most of the beeches around here, so hopefully they'll hang on a little bit longer. There's red and sugar maples, black birch, hickories, and the understory up in the canopy. In the ground cover layer, there's mayflower, maple leaf viburnum, quite a bit of Christmas fern down through here. The ferns are nice because the deer tend not to eat them. Oops. The wetlands, again, were delineated by Bill Kenny on August 9th, 2023. Again, it's that purple line. The wetlands over here, it's about a 40-foot width or so from here to here. Maybe here, maybe it's a little bit more here. But then right behind this Trumbull house, right here, it widens out, and it's kind of again, very gently sloping area. And that's sort of where it's open. Now that's about 75 foot in width. The wetlands are vegetated, with red maples, there's some ash, spice bush, ferns, wood fern, New York fern, some wood aster, goldenrods. The wetlands, when you have a river like this, they provide a lot of functions. I'll just go through some of the functions that they provide. The wetlands store flood waters. That's the first function. The second would be, fish and shellfish habitat. They also are able to trap sediment. So when the river overflows its banks, if there's sediment that comes down, some of that sediment would be deposited in the wetlands bordering the Mill River. The plants within the wetlands, they uptake nutrients. So like excess fertilizers that a lawn area may have that wash down towards the wetland, the plants will uptake that, and that helps water quality. The plants provide food for wildlife. Again, along the river, the plantings stabilize the bank. Wildlife habitats, another function. In this area, particularly along the river, recreational value, fishing, and it's a visually pleasing site. I'm not going to go into much of that watercourse, or not a drainage channel, rather, not a watercourse. I never saw any flow through here. Down in the lower slope, there's hardly any vegetation at all. Again, I think it was from the storm event of August 3rd. Wildlife, we did check the natural diversity database maps for the state, which go over the threatened, endangered, and rare species. And there is wood turtle that were on their map, so this area was highlighted for wood turtles. I didn't see any myself, but you just contact the DEEP, and you submit an application and it comes back. Wood turtles generally stay by rivers, so it's not like a box turtle that would, could wander, up the hillside. But I would anticipate those wood turtles to, again, like stay by the river, especially with that wall right here. That kind of wall would act like a wildlife barrier for the wood turtles. Again, we're proposing the two buildings, building here, building over here. Parking underneath the buildings. We're connected to the municipal water and a sewer. I went over again, this house is to be removed. This house is to remain. We do have a large retaining wall in the back here. What I like about the retaining walls is that without a retaining wall, you would have to do a lot more disturbance and filling. So walls limit the disturbance. Again, that also provides a wildlife barrier. So if there's any wildlife back in this area of the site, walking up the hill, they hit the wall and they don't go into the development area. So again, the wall acts as a wildlife barrier. That eroding channel right through here, we're going to pick that up. I don't think there's an opportunity to collect or to put a rain garden or some type of basin here. I kind of did think about that. To do that, you probably would have to excavate the whole area to get like a 2-on-1 slope there to have a basin. So again, I didn't think there was an opportunity there, unfortunately. But most times, in situations like this, you could. I think we went into the drainage quite a bit, but again, just to go over some of the measures we're proposing. We have catch basins fitted with the sumps, so the sumps are, I think they're 4 feet deep, so sediment flowing off of the driveway areas go into the catch basins, and the sediment could be deposited in those sumps. We do have swirl concentrator, which is kind of located in this area here. That spins the stormwater around, and it pushes the sediment to the outside, and so it traps the sediments. A lot of the sediments contain a lot of pollutants, so the pollutants attach to the sediments. So that, again, that helps water treatment. We have level spreaders that we have the longer one here. Again, mainly it's much longer than the smaller one here. Again, the smaller one is depositing water from the galleries underneath the building, where the larger system is just getting the water from the road and passing it kind of through the site to that area. The landscape plan, we have a number of shade trees. Shade trees are like the oaks and maples. We like to plant shade trees because it reduces thermal pollution. It shades the asphalt parking lot areas. We have, again, 36 shade trees. Understory trees, the smaller ones, there's 22. Those provide like wildlife habitat. A number of evergreens we're proposing too. Within the wetland, again, this plan hasn't changed since the summer. We have plantings to improve the habitat areas here. There's some evergreens here that are existing. So we're proposing 7 hollies and 16 white pines in this area here. Normally I don't use white pine because they kind of break easily or quickly, but they're good for wildlife habitat. But when we're far away from a structure, I tend to use them. Again, 16 white pines and 7 American hollies. Down in this area here where it's thin, we have 8 shade trees, 5 swamp white oaks, and 3 silver maples. Here again, that's mainly to enhance the wildlife habitat. And kind of the small circles or the spice bush. Again, I tend to use spice bush quite a bit because the deer don't eat them, and they do provide some berries for wildlife. There's no direct impact to the wetlands. We're probably from here to here. I think we're greater than 65 feet or so away, 60 feet from the house to the wetland area here. We're the closest point of disturbance from the site to the river here. It's approximately 120 feet at its closest point. One thing I should point out, there's a pump station right here, which is a little bit closer to the river than our project. Yeah. So indirect impacts, so just go over some of the indirect impacts that could result from developments like this. Again, water quality from untreated runoff. Again, all of the runoff from the site is treated. Again, it goes through that drainage system, and it goes, with the swirl concentrator, the catch basin with sumps, infiltration underneath the building, and then into the level spreaders. That all improves water quality. Another concern on projects like this with steep slopes is erosion during construction. We do have that double row silt fence in the back. On a site like this, I think it would be important, as Fairfield noted in their staff review, to probably have a site monitor that would go out there, weekly or so after storm events, just to check that silt fence and any other erosion control measures to make sure they're properly working. Again, all of the runoff from the site is still directed towards the wetlands, so we're not changing any hydrology. With the infiltration of the runoff that we're collecting, we're not having any long-term impact to groundwater discharge. There will be some impact to wildlife, upland wildlife, but again, for the kind of the wildlife associated with the river and the wetland areas, I don't anticipate any change to that, any adverse change to that. And again, we are proposing these habitat plantings within that lower area bordering the wetland and within the wetland to improve wildlife habitat. Again, some of the best management practices that the plan includes is, erosion controls, the catch basins fitted with sumps, that swirl concentrator, the underground infiltration galleries which infiltrate stormwater runoff. I've never heard of a project that the groundwater was, greater than 15 feet below. So that's a great thing to have that groundwater so low. We have the kind of the planted buffers bordering the wetlands. That retaining wall would be another, in my opinion, a best management practice. The shade trees, kind of reducing that thermal pollution up here. I don't know if that would matter that much because all of that water goes into the detention galleries under the building and get infiltrated. So I did have some recommendations. One was, the area that's being maintained in a natural state. It'd be great to have a conservation, easement over that. We could add some wildlife boxes within the trees back through here and increase wildlife habitat. And then before any construction starts, and like if the silt fence went up, before the trees were removed, someone like myself would go out there and do a wildlife sweep just to search under logs and rocks to see if there's any wildlife. If we find any, we would get that wildlife and kind of move it to the downhill side of the silt fence just to protect that. So again, I think I'm gonna end there. I'd just like to probably just say that with these measures, if the plans goes according to plan, again, we're maintaining quite a bit of a wooded buffer to the river. I don't anticipate any significant adverse impact to the wetlands and to the Mill River. Just to comment on the riprap here. Again, I didn't delineate any watercourses on the site, and I think that was done by Bill Kenny, and he determined that wasn't a watercourse. Again, if the channel is not there, it's tough to tell if the riprap pad that's right through here, if there would be a channel there. But there is a channel going right down the hillside further down. Again, I think it was from that August storm. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the riprap we're discussing, if the channel is directly on this map above, so I guess that would be northwest. We'll call it above here.
That's right here. Yep.
Right. So if there's a channel that exists there, and there's a flow of water below it, I would assume it stands to reason that that would be a channel, if not for the placement of that riprap.
So I never saw any flow of water like below that. So
Okay, because we were told that the channel below it had flow that didn't meet all the criteria. It met some of them. I believe there was scour there.
there is one spice bush right next to the head wall. Spice bush tends to grow like, up the slope from a wetland area, so moist soil. So that would, I didn't see any, skunk cabbage. Typically like that, you probably would see skunk cabbage growing up that, if it was a watercourse following up that channel all the way up. So again, didn't see any of that.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Greg.
Through the chair. Two quick questions. I don't know if it's in here, but something I think we'll be looking for is where would snow, after they plow, where would that be?
Okay.
We've had a lot different issues in this town where snow is dumped. The classic case where you get in these big sites, it's dumped, and then all of a sudden, all the salt and the melt, everything you've done here to protect it, can go right out the window in the winter.
In a wetland, yeah.
All right, so that's something I think we'd be looking for.
Absolutely.
Your guys' thoughts on that. And then for the Trumbull piece, I know what you're doing. A lot of the plantings are eastern.
Yes, correct.
One of the things we typically do is we'd like to have, for the Trumbull piece, what trees are being cut down, what's the size of them? Because we typically would ask for some remediation replacement. I don't know how we're going to do that. We don't have a lot of space here. That's just something we're just going to have to discuss. But I think we'd probably like to know what's coming down
Okay.
in Trumbull. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, David.
Just to reiterate, the plans that I'm reviewing don't match what's on the screen, so it's hard for me, and if this is the public is reviewing also, it's difficult for either of us to get a good read on this. The area directly off of Plumtree that we've been talking about, the riprap slope, etc., there are drainage improvements that are shown going through that area. You are showing that as existing vegetation to remain. Based on your graphics, that area is going to be significantly disturbed by drainage activity. And there's going to be significant views from Plumtree Lane down into the property. So that area along Plumtree Lane up to the existing driveway needs a closer look at the planting.
Yeah, we can replant that, yeah. Yep.
And
sure.
the background that I'm looking at here shows a break in the wall. There's no break in the wall, and you've got a pin oak that's directly on top of what appears to be directly on top of a pipe. Overall, the plant selection, I think, is very good for the site. Excellent selection of plants that mimics sort of the natural habitat. Some of the areas of planting I have a lot of concern with, specifically next to the south side of the dumpster, you've got 5 Amelanchier at 8 to 9 feet tall in a 3-foot wide bed against an 8-foot tall wall. That's a recipe for basically killing the plants. I don't think there's sufficient area there to do the plantings that you've got proposed. I think it's ambitious. The same thing with the 12-foot high wall that extends beyond the existing house. You've got more Amelanchier back there in a 4-foot wide bed it's going to be very difficult to grow and maintain those trees in that location. I don't think it will be, I question their long-term viability.
One comment, one thing that, like on this site, none of the plantings are on a street, on a town property right through here along the streetscape. Like if this was Stanford, I would have plantings all through on the private property and public property. So we need like additional plantings. We can certainly put them, more, on and off the site through this area, here and here.
Where are the utilities for the power lines? Are they on the south side of the road, or are they on the downhill side or the uphill side of the road there? Is there a concern with street trees, planting street trees along there? Or putting taller evergreens, particularly in the upper corner next to the existing driveway, that would conflict with power lines?
So,
I see one UI pole. Two UI poles, so it looks like they run down that side of the
on
road.
this side, yeah,
Correct.
they're on our side.
You could do smaller street tree
Yeah, even shrubs too, yeah.
along through that zone. Looking at the plantings directly below the outflow for the infiltrator units, or the level spreaders, I think that planting should be minimally doubled. And same, there should be similar planting put in front of the smaller level spreader as well. Again, I have not had the opportunity to review the updated plans based on what's shown on the screen, so it's kind of at a detriment here. There's a lot of very, very tall walls, and you've got small sort of shrub plantings, particularly on the back side with the clethra and the myrica. Some taller understory trees in that location would definitely help mitigate the effects of the 10 to 12 foot high walls in that location.
So you're talking right below the wall?
Yeah, where you've got the new building, you've got the,
Yeah, right, it's just through.
right.
Yep, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense too.
Overall, the planting selection is very good for the plant list. But I do have questions about the viability of some of these locations where things are planted. Again, I would like the opportunity to review a more current plan.
Well, this plan, I haven't changed it since, I think, August. I mean,
Well,
April,
what
rather.
I'm reviewing here on, that's available off the website versus what's on the screen are two different things. This says 1/21/25, but this is what's available off of the website that the public would be reviewing.
Anyway, we'll get that to you.
I echo Mr. Cernica's comments about tree removal. The survey does not provide any tree locations for any existing trees. Existing trees should be added to the survey, 6 inches caliper and greater, so that we have an understanding of the extent of removal and damage being done to the property. That's it on just the planting for me. Thank you.
Any other comments from or questions from the commission? Or town engineers? You're good? John, you're good?
Actually, one more
Oh, go
comment,
ahead,
sorry.
David.
Behind the existing house, I know it's in Easton, but there's a 12-foot tall wall. You've got plants on the bottom half, but there's no,
We could probably plant on top of that too. I
there's no
think.
barrier. So you've got a 12-foot wall, and by code, you're going to have a 4-foot tall fence on top of that.
I was thinking that's there's lawn back there too, so we could probably, add some trees in that lawn area,
Yeah, so all these walls are going to have
some
Yeah.
type of barrier.
some type of barrier on top of them that it will make them even taller than they are already proposed. Thank you.
All right, are you good, Matthew?
I am good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, we're all set for now. I know you have the public that would like to speak, if that would be appropriate. Just allow me some time after they're finished to give a quick rebuttal.
Okay, very good.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, David.
I have some concerns on the overall project layout, which definitely would affect the layout. I'm looking and reviewing this, the grading plan, the site plan. For instance, you're showing a set of steps by the level spreader in the back. You're showing seven risers coming off a set of steps for a 12-foot wall. So either you've got 18-inch tall steps, or you've got a configuration of stairs that doesn't work. And with changing from 7 risers to 20 risers is going to change the footprint, it's going to change the layout. So these plans need to reflect a buildable solution, and showing 5 risers for a 5-foot grade change or 6 risers for a 20-foot grade change isn't a buildable solution. These plans need to accurately reflect the footprint of what's going to be built and what's actually going to be built. Because, you know, particularly with the steps, those footprints will get significantly larger as, you know, you meet the code. And that's going to change the overall layout and the overall footprint of the project. And that is not insignificant. The other thing is our code for a public hearing does require presentation of reasonable and prudent alternatives. I've not seen any reasonable and prudent alternatives that have come through as part of this application or presentation. What is the plan for the applicant to provide that information?
So I guess the short answer is that a feasible and prudent alternative is required by case law if it's been shown or if there's been a finding that there's a significant impact on the wetlands. That case is called Purnell. It's in the material that I've provided you. Absent that, we don't have to give you a prudent and feasible alternative, nor do you have to make a finding of that unless you have a finding of that there's going to be a significant impact on the wetlands. All the evidence that I have heard or seen does not show that there's going to be a significant impact on the wetlands. I think that what we did do, and I consider it as being part of that feasible and prudent alternatives, is upgrading some of those storm drainage features and designs so that what you were looking at, and I think you were alluding to earlier when we submitted the application, why you see some of the plans look slightly different, I think you were the one who brought that out, is that we did improve upon, in my opinion, the storm drainage system by beefing up and making some of those changes to be offline. So that would be some of the considerations that we had for the feasible and prudent alternatives to protect the wetlands. But the case law is crystal clear that unless there is a significant impact, the applicant doesn't, or at least there has to be substantial evidence, I think the court uses, in the record for the commission to make a finding that there's going to be a significant impact. And then you can use your regulations of what a significant impact is. But there has to be specific evidence of either the 7 things that are listed in your regulations, and I don't see any of that. So you are allowed to have a public hearing, you are correct, if there's if for the reasons of having a public interest. So there's no question you could have a public hearing. You have the right to do that if you believe that there's a public interest.
All right. You good? Did you have a comment?
I just want to make,
Cordon?
Attorney Bell, I just wanted so that you are, that the commission did vote to conduct a public hearing for both the purposes of significant impact and also in public interest. That was their vote for the hearing.
Yeah, I think the case law says that the commission needs, and that's why we're all here, the commission needs to make a determination. Is there substantial evidence in the record that shows that there will be an adverse impact on these wetlands or watercourses based on the upland review activity? And it's our position that there's no evidence that there's going to be substantial or significant impact on those wetlands, provided we build and build it the way it's been presented here tonight. So I think that's the answer.
Question, Attorney Bellis. Is this going to be a homeowners association or just a, tenant? The reason I ask
No, it's
is,
a good question. I get it, yeah.
when it comes to maintenance,
Yeah.
that's always a problem. Once it's done, is it being maintained? Is it
Well-
being done on a regular schedule?
It would seem to me that the apartment building will be owned by the owner as opposed to a homeowners association, and that's
So
the
a property
that
manager.
property in Trumbull would be an apartment. So it's the homeowner that would be liable for that maintenance schedule. Whoever owns that apartment building.
And then the townhouses, are they
The
condoed or-
townhouses, that's in Easton, I believe. I don't know whether those townhouses are for rent or for sale. We have not, and I'm not trying to be evasive, we haven't submitted anything to zoning, so I don't know the answer to that. It just seems to me, based on my knowledge of doing this for 40 years, that the apartment building is not going to be a condominium. It's going to be more of an apartment building.
All right.
Yeah. And that's what's in Trumbull.
Any comments, questions before we go to the public? Okay. I'm getting the signal for a 5 minute. You need it?
Oh, a break?
No, but in an hour.
No.
That's it for 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have no.
Do you need?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. All right, take a quick break and we'll be back here just about 3 minutes of 8, okay? I have 2 commissioners that need a break.
No, that's fine. I need the break too.
There you go.
scale on the table. Two attorneys. I think it would go to.
I have one, but I don't like using it. All right, thank you for your indulgence on that. All right, we're going to go to public comment. I'm going to please ask you, keep your comments only to issues regarding wetlands. Other matters such as the lighting density, zoning, that's not in our purview, and it's not relevant to wetlands. In addition, if you would please not repeat what someone else has said. Just state what you agreed to, or what your thoughts are. All right? So we will open it to the public. No. I'm sorry, and I would ask, give your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Mike Kasha, and I live at 39 Waller Road, Trumbull, Connecticut. And I'm just going to read some, just rhetorical, just to read it, and I'll shut up and get off. It has become clear that all three affected municipalities, Easton, Trumbull, Fairfield, Aspetuck Land Trust, and the state of Connecticut, possess a wealth of technical talent, experience, including tribal knowledge and history of the Mill River, which is great of all three. And we feel it's vital that all of the above municipalities work together in concert and assure that all processes, plans, requirements, testing, inspections, engagement of third-party testing, required bonds, approvals and denials are agreed upon and have buy-in among all the municipalities. I offer the following points and the following concerns based on the facts that I have lived at Dover Park, which is the neighborhood along Toll House Lane, from 1958 to 1982. That all abuts the Mill River directly on Park Avenue in Fairfield. And in my 24 years there, I've witnessed a lot of flooding of the Mill River and the causes. I was also an original owner and board president of Trumbull Town Commons Condominiums Association from 1989 to 2001, which required wetlands approvals and significant stormwater management design, in which Trumbull required the developer, Baker Firestone, to secure bonds during the construction and for several years after completion to assure design integrity, expose hidden non-compliances, etc. Currently lives from 2002 on the top of Plumtree Lane on Waller Road. I think the studies that need to be conducted in concert with by all municipalities and some private talent. Will the applicant's property during the pre-approval plans, both Easton and Trumbull sections and other owners' properties up Plumtree Lane, be formally tested for underground springs and underground waterways, and maybe at the application's expense? Presently, most of the homes on the entire length of the subject Plumtree Lane report water in their basements during sudden and heavy rains. Will there be pre-approval and formal testing to potentially update the wetlands lines and maybe redraw new ones within the applicant's property? Will there be pre-approval or testing to access and verify pollutant loads entering the Mill River from roofs, proposed roofs, asphalt, and compliance violations and risks, given that the Mill River is a Class 1 wild trout area? And that's that page. Will there be, this is in part one, will there be pre-approval for formal flood water volume discharge rate testing study and mandated water detention pond area size and capacity for stormwater by all the municipalities, particularly the downstream flood impact of the Fairfield Toll House Lane, Mill River frontage homes, and Trumbull Plumtree Lane homes on the associated side? Will it include checking for springs, total water discharge, rate, volume, and all that? The applicant's current water management plan is for under the buildings, posing design and routine maintenance issues, as opposed to one full open water detention pond, similar to Trumbull Town Commons, the open area, and Trumbull's that require no maintenance, and it's always effective in high flood conditions. So like I said, similar to Trumbull Town Commons, as the underbuilding plan is really, they're only choosing that because it's their only choice, because if the water detention pond had to do the inch acreage quantity, there'd be no room to build. The applicant conducted his water table drilling in locations not representative of the true water table, and that was talked about at the Easton at the Easton meeting, and also you guys briefed on it, where was the locations, and they said in the garage. In addition, we're in a severe drought, which further skews the information of where the defined water table may be. Presently, all of the homes on the Mill River side of Fairfield Toll House Lane in Easton, the Easton home on 5917 Park Avenue, are in severe flood zones on the flood map. The entire houses and their frontage, some of them up to Toll House Lane, with the exception of the very first house. These homes are directly across Park Avenue from the applicant's proposed area. In fact, during heavy prolonged rain, some of these homes currently experience flooding surrounding their entire homes when we get the flash floods, and many experience the basement flooding. And, during the September 2 meeting, the applicant's engineer indicated that their plan is to limit their site discharge water to the farthest possible upstream area away from the Mill River underpass on Park Avenue in order to help reduce the effects of additional water flowing under the Mill River Bridge. This is of great concern because the Mill River and water load of this project are already at high-risk levels, exacerbated by yearly climate issues. It was mentioned in September 2nd meeting that certain Plumtree Lane storm drain water goes on the property, which you guys talked about, and, okay, there are no others, okay. And there are new drainage, okay. And final page. Will there be a formal risk study recommendation and approval of removal of downstream trees and the nearby banks of the Mill River at the applicant's expense? Whenever we get those floods on the Mill River, beyond there, all those trees are engulfed from the banks, and they were falling into the water during the storms and backing up into the people's properties, including that house on 5917 Park Avenue. And so will that be assessed as part of this plan before approval? Will and can Fairfield and other mentioned wetland municipalities mandate a pre-approved formal study of water contamination based on the above? And, the management of oils and contaminants off of the roofs. And also the biggest thing is that Mill River over there, when it crosses Fairfield, it goes into many fishing and Mill River areas. It starts at the Cascades, it goes to Lake Mohegan, Lake Hills Lake, Sampmotor Lake and Reservoir, Riverside Park on Brookside Drive, and other bodies of water all the way to Southport Harbor. And this is a big one, and I'm going back to Trumbull Town Commons, how great you guys did with that. Will Trumbull and Easton Conservation Wetlands municipalities mandate a surety bond paid by the applicant and issue a property lien as one of the conditions for exiting any wetlands approval stage, just like Trumbull did in Trumbull Town Commons? The applicant indicated that the property will be sold to another entity upon project completion. They don't know what they're going to do with the townhouses. I have a hunch those are going to go condo, but who knows? I worry that this can create cloud legal liability for any type of remedy, for if there's any type of systemic problems with the project or anything like that. And based on the complexity and scope of the application, that the municipalities could end up having to pay for all of this in the long run. So, over here, verification of preventive violation. So, basically, the problem is if this property gets sold to somebody else, how does the town have teeth to bring it back into compliance without us paying the money for it? And okay, so basically, a lot of this stuff is Fairfield, Trumbull, and Easton share a lot of common interest in keeping this thing from going forward. And that water detention area under the building, just to go into that was at the Easton meeting. Constant comments, bad idea, bad design. It requires a ton of maintenance. As something like Trumbull Town Commons, it's been going for almost 40 years. 1987 that thing was built, and it's still flowing perfectly. Without any maintenance, no yearly routine, no maintenance schedule, which we know what happens with that later on. And that's all I have. Sorry for taking a lot of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney Cordone wants to make a quick statement.
Just for the public to know that if you have sent in written correspondence, the commission has received those. and they are all in the record. And every commissioner does have your letter, so you do not feel the need to read your letter into the record. Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Cordone.
Hello, my name is Marguerite Cody. I live at the top of Plumtree Lane, and I've been living there for 24 years. I live in a single home area with wonderful neighbors, and I love living there. In 2020, I walked every day 2 miles down Adirondack Trail and watched the lovely homes being built on the street. There are multiple streams that flow to the Mill River. I have asthma and did not realize the removing of trees and digging the foundations in the wetlands was going to hurt me. I became very ill with major breathing problems. I have good doctors that sent me to get a CAT scan that showed a very bad infection in my lungs. My doctor said that I think you have avium. I had a bronchoscopy to confirm it. They sent samples to the state of Connecticut. After the procedure, I was told, we don't know how your lungs are functioning. It was really bad. That was very scary for me that my lungs were that bad. It took 3 months for the state of Connecticut to confirm I had avium. That delayed my treatment. I asked, how did I get avium? The doctor says, by walking through woods where there's wetlands. I contracted it by breathing the dusty soil that contained Mycobacterium avium complex, and people should know about this. People could be walking around with this that don't even know they have it. If it wasn't for my doctors, I wouldn't have known I had that. It's found in the soil and water. People with weakened immune systems or asthma like me could get it. Avium is a cousin of tuberculosis, which is TB, and it's if left untreated, it is deadly. It is a microorganism that eats the lungs and damages them. I had to immediately start 1.5 years regimen of 3 different TB antibiotics. I was very sick the whole time that I was on the medication, and it eventually did damage my liver. Today, I am still sick from that illness, and I struggle every day. And that's why I have to wear my mask, because of that. Connecticut has the highest number of avium cases. Removing the trees and digging the soil on Plumtree Lane will unleash this microorganism and could cause someone to get sick. And it's a concern. If I got it, somebody else could get it. And I have other issues here. Also, there are environmental and flooding concerns. The Mill River along Plumtree Lane is a flood zone, and the apartment building is only 80 feet from it. The trees hold the soil and absorb the water. Removing the trees and digging in the area will make it worse. I am concerned about Park Avenue sewer pump station, which is 90 feet, and I measured that from that flood zone. Which is where that sign is, Welcome to Easton. It goes beyond that, and I've seen it several times that floods badly over there. I am, all right, so it is currently services 135 homes. That's the pump station. From the top of Mount Pleasant, Stonewall, and between Wendy and Buttonwood down to Park Avenue. And it flows down Plumtree. Then the pump forces it back up Plumtree over Stonewall, and the gravity takes it to Bridgeport where it gets processed. If it floods, it will stop pumping and cause a massive sewer backup right through the apartment building and other houses on Plumtree Lane. And then you can't fix it. There's nothing you could do. And it will go right through the apartment building, all that sewage, and that will end up in the Mill River. That's for sure, because you have to power wash that out of an apartment if it gets flooded with sewage. No storm water detention system or retaining wall will hold back any water from flooding river. I had a sister who was 3 blocks from a river, and it flooded every year for the 8 years she lived there. Sometimes twice in 1 year she had, mud and sewage right through her home. The whole thing, all the way, the first level was totally filled, and that's what could happen to this apartment building. It's a concern. And whoever thinks that this project is a good idea, I challenge them to walk half a mile up the steep hill on Park Avenue to the bus stop at Yale New Haven facility. There are no sidewalks, a narrow bridge, 2 entrances and exits to the Merritt Parkway, and a chaotic small roundabout with fast cars going by. This is not safe for pedestrians. I would fear for, you would fear for your life walking up there. Please
Excuse
do
me,
not allow.
ma'am. You're really going way away from wetlands on this.
Okay.
Can you please
Okay,
pertain it to this?
I'm done.
Thank you.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
But there
Please
are
do
others that
not-
wish to speak.
Yeah. Please do not allow this development complex on Plumtree Lane that would risk the health and the lives of 150-plus people. It is not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Sir? No? I don't.
You sign up.
Right, but nobody's getting up, I'll get up.
Go in order.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have access to that, so first come, first served.
My name is Richard Rosen. I live on Merrimack Drive, 180 Merrimack Drive, and I've been here
Thank
quite
you,
a
sir.
number of years. I'm here to talk about the fish. I'm advocating for the fish. I'm the president of the local chapter of Trout Unlimited. Somebody from the builder side apparently said that we support the project. That is totally false. I never heard about the project till I heard about that. The river is in decline. We've been working with the Aspetuck Land Trust to try to improve the river, strengthen the banks and plant trees. This is going to go in the opposite direction. DEEP does surveys of the river. They do shocking and they count the fish. And in 2016, there were 964 brown trout. These are wild trout per kilometer. By 2025, it was down to 558, which is a 42% decline. The brook trout in 2016 to 2019 were 120 wild trout per kilometer. By 2025, it's down to 8 per kilometer. So you've got a 93% decline in the fish population. When they cut down all these trees, we'll have less trees, the water will get warmer. That's going to degrade the whole situation. It's going to, you know, when the water gets above 70 degrees, the trout start to die, and that's a fact. You're going to have the reds that are the nesting spots are going to get covered with the silt, so we won't have the fish populating themselves. The river is going to get shallower. The predators, the birds, are going to take more fish out of the water, and the whole thing is going in the absolute wrong direction. And of course, you've heard about the runoff and the pollution, and that's not going to be good for the fish. The other thing I worry about is you're going to have 100 or more people living there and partying on the river, walking on the river, walking the dogs on the river, and it's going to be a disaster. I don't know who's going to clean it up, but it's going to be terrible. And this is really a bad idea to put this right on the river. It's a very precious river. I fish there. A lot of my friends fish there. And this is not going to be, we're going in the wrong direction with this. This does not belong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Name and address.
Yes, please.
Laurel Walsh, 5944 Main Street. There may be a full moon tonight, and it feels appropriate because the plan as presented is quite honestly too far-fetched to be taken seriously as a responsible development. I echo the concerns raised by the neighbors of Plumtree. In particular, I believe we need further investigation into the gas pipeline and its proximity to the site. This is not a detail to overlook, especially given past projects that were contributing factors to a site close by in Easton. I also remain concerned about the Mill River and the environmental impact this development might have. In addition, this potential strain on our already overcrowded schools, stress on our emergency services, the traffic this project would introduce, and I question the tastefulness and appropriateness of placing such a dense development in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Judith de Graffenried, 323 Unity Road. I'd like to say, in all due respects, we can no longer assume expert opinions are legitimate. We cannot take them at face value. I have right here, and I'm sure you've received this, the letter from the Easton First Select Person, Dan Lint, when he hired an independent engineer to counter what this gentleman was maintaining. And it's devastating. All the technical reservations he put forth is absolutely devastating. I don't know if you need me to read them. I assume you've gotten a copy, right? Or would you like me to read this?
You could submit it for the record and it would be given to the commission.
Would people like to hear it? All right. I have two parts. I'm going to read this and I'll simplify it. And I also have my own points I'd like to make, but I'll try to shorten this. This was devastating. All right. This is from Trinkhouse Engineering, LLC. So Dan Lint got an independent engineering firm to go over this. And these are the concerns. 1, the primary stormwater detention system is located under the parking garage. This is problematic for the following reasons. The bottom of the system is located 8 feet below the garage slab, and there are no provisions for inspection or maintenance ports on any portion of the detention system. B, 2 online hydrodynamic separators are proposed on either side of the detention system. Online hydrodynamic separators will only reduce TSS loads by 29% to 38% based upon field monitoring conducted by the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center and the American Society of Civil Engineers BMP database. C, no soil tests were conducted within the actual footprint of the underground detention system, which is required by the CT Deep 2024 Stormwater Quality Manual. D, no double ring infiltration tests were conducted at or below the bottom of the underground detention system, which is necessary to properly model the underground detention system. E, the DEEP manual is only a guidance document. It is not a law or mandated regulation. The design professional must provide computations that meet the requirements of the DEEP manual. F, it has not been proven that runoff volumes will be reduced as no infiltration tests were carried out. G, it has not been proven that the underground detention system will reduce non-point source pollutant loads. H, as the catch basins and online hydrodynamic separators will provide minimal treatment of the runoff, increased non-point source pollutant loads will be discharged to the wetland system and the Mill River. Number 2, no treatment is provided for any runoff from the underground parking garage, which is being discharged to the sanitary sewer system. The CT Deep requires treatment of this runoff prior to discharging. 3, the turning movement plan is incomplete as it does not show how the fire truck will turn around at the site and exit back onto Plumtree Road. 4, the dumpster cannot be accessed by a garage truck without fully blocking the main driveway as shown. 5, the stormwater report claims reductions of runoff volume, which are not correct as it has not been demonstrated that any infiltration will occur in the underground detention system. Without infiltration of runoff, significantly higher runoff volumes will be discharged from the level spreaders on the uphill slope, whereas erosion will occur over time. 6, the use of Rawls rates is only to be used to determine the general feasibility of a site for infiltration practice. Field infiltration testing must be done, but none has been done. 7. A percolation test was done. However, the DEEP manual forbids the use of percolation test for the design of an infiltration practice. 8. Simply providing the water quality volume in a stormwater practice and claiming that pollutant load reductions by DEEP will be met is not supported by science, as non-point source pollutants are found in particulate and soluble form. A pollutant loading analysis must be provided. 9. The stormwater management system does not comply with the CT DEEP 2024 Stormwater Quality Manual as far as the design of the underground and surface practices proposed. And the two types of systems will not reduce non-point source pollutant loads as required by the manual, as well as the Town of Easton MS-4 permit. This is respectfully submitted, Trinkhouse Engineering. Now, these are some of my questions, and I'll be happy to submit this. I'm saying, why here, there seems to be no rational, honorable justification. These are my questions. How many trees will be removed? And how will this affect the Mill River? Why build in a wooden lot where there are so many abandoned plazas that could be used? Alternative sites. We're going back to that law. If something is less harmful, why not go to an alternative site? This is the point that really scares me. They are talking about building 4 stories, the garage, and 3 stories above, on top of trucked in fill dirt because of the extreme angle, yeah. Slope, thank you. They're bringing in fill dirt. That seems dangerous to me. I wouldn't want to live in an apartment building on top of 4 stories on top of dirt that was brought in that was filled dirt. And also, one of the commissioners in Easton made a very good point. He said, how do we know that this filled dirt that they're trucking in, that's going to be the substructure for all these apartments, how do we know it's clean? Would they not, how do we ensure that nobody's cutting corners, bringing in less desirable fill dirt for a great rate? I think that's terrifying. I think it's insane. And I just don't understand why they're building a location where so much dirt has to be brought in, and it's going back to that law, that Connecticut statute says, find a better alternative. Now, getting to the parking lot, what is it, 100 cars in a parking lot above the river, and they're telling us that that's not going to affect the river when you have all that grease and the pollution? And also, we heard from Trout Unlimited. I heard the gentleman over there talking about how they were working with Trout Unlimited. Obviously not. All right, and this is my final point. Why piggyback on the Trumbull sewer system that is already old and inadequate? According to the Bridgeport Water Authority, we will need $1 billion. This is from their 2024 report. And I know it's going to go higher. We need $1 billion to upgrade the 2 water treatment plants that we use. We taxpayers are on the hook, and we're quite frankly very worried about this coming assessment that we're going to have to deal with. My question is, did the applicant obtain a formal written certification from the Bridgeport Water Authority verifying adequate treatment capacity exists to absorb the additional flow from this development without imposing cost increases, capital assessments, or infrastructure burdens on existing Trumbull residents? Did they do that? If anybody would care to answer that. My point is, the applicant must provide substantial evidence that there is no alternative to what they're proposing, which to me seems insane, and I would like to know about what they have determined beforehand about the impact on us with our already beleaguered system with the sewer. Thank you.
Through the chair. Through the chair. Looking through the letters, I believe she had an intervener status. What is happens with that?
Commissioner Verespi, thank you for asking. I don't think it meets the requirement of intervener, and she's here and been able to put her items on the record. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
June Logie, 140 Rock House Road, Easton. I'm going to make this quick because it's going to follow her comments. Connecticut Department of DEEP has Environmental Protection has issued multiple consent orders to the City of Bridgeport and its Water Pollution Control Authority and to address chronic sewage overflows and upgrades to an aging wastewater system treatment plant. So my question is, before the 3 towns that are involved spend oodles of the taxpayers' money on legal, environmental, engineering costs related to future development, is it possible for the towns to request a pre-approval or provisional approval of the sewer hookups prior to going forward with this? Because this is a lot of money that's being spent, and if we cannot hook up to these sewers, game over. And the second thing that I want to bring up is Easton's been through this before, and the detention centers are my very biggest concern. There's a 300-page Mill River study that was done by the state in 2019. And it was determined that the Mill River was being polluted by septic systems from a development in Easton. They have not cleaned up that water because they don't know how to do it since 2019. I will forward you it. It's a 300-page document. Wasn't going to hand it out. I will forward it to you, but we've been through this. Are we going to repeat this process? The detention center is not a foolproof, and the questions on maintenance of this going forward is serious because it goes right into the river. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to give you this because the consent order's in this.
Do you want to point out the information coming from Easton? Thank you, ma'am.
No, we do. Thank you so much. I was talking.
We don't.
Good evening. My name is Joe Pifko, 158 Plymouth Avenue in Trumbull. First of all, thank you all for serving on the board. I've sat in those seats. It's a tough job. I know you're not paid, and the technical things you need to know are outrageous to me. So thank you for serving. So I learned a lot here tonight. Retention tanks, a mechanism that's going to take the grease off of what comes out of the dumpster. I'm fascinated by this because I've walked that area many times this summer, this long, dry, drought summer, and from Plumtree, you could see the river. It's right there. It's right there. And you can hear it. It's right there. And everything between the road and the river is deep green in the middle of a drought. And yet, it's not wetlands. You know, there's an old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck. Okay? I remember years ago I was here, and it may not be the individuals on the board now, but this board denied an individual a deck on his house because within 50 feet of his house, somebody found skunk cabbage, and he couldn't put a deck on his house. And you're contemplating allowing this development to go in where you can see the river. Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan Kame, 9 Russ Road, Trumbull, on behalf of myself and my mother, Mary S. Kame. First, I submitted a letter by email this afternoon with attachments. I just wanted to know if you wanted original signatures on that letter. I have one with original signatures if you want.
No, it's not necessary. All of the commissioners, including myself, received it. And when you came up, remember I showed it to you.
Yes. Okay. By way of background history, by the way, my mother, Mary S. Kame, at 96.5 years old, is an original surviving home builder in this neighborhood, having purchased her land and built her home in 1955. Russ Road is right next to Plumtree Lane. I am the backyard neighbor to 2 Plumtree Lane, directly across from 5 Plumtree Lane, which is where the proposed development is. I will rely on what's in our letter, which is very detailed. I just want to point out to you that this is a protected area, this entire land by the DEP, and it has 5 levels of protection. First, the Mill River. Second, the trout and salmon hatchery protection of the Mill River. The natural wildlife area of this property, as determined by the Connecticut DEP. It's the cold water basin, the entire neighborhood for Samp Mortar Reservoir and Lake Mohegan. And if you look at the maps attached to my letter, you will see that that cold water basin isn't just Plumtree Lane. It goes down Plattsville to Old Town Road, down Jefferson Street. It includes what used to be the parking lots of Sacred Heart University. It includes the GE property all the way down to Fairfield. And that's the cold water basin for Lake Mohegan and Samp Mortar Reservoir. Cold water basin means drinking water. You just have to filter it and you can drink it. So, and there's a fifth level of protection. But with regard to tonight's public comment, I would strongly suggest to the commission members that you get in touch with the town of Easton and meet with their commission as well, and watch on their website the public hearing, because many of the issues being discussed have already been raised by Easton, and some of the answers, some of the information appears that's being given to you appears to be different than what was given to Easton. For example, one of the commissioners here asked about putting in a filtration system off Plumtree Lane, and the answer was that the grade was too steep. But as the lady who spoke previously said, they're bringing in tons and tons of dirt to raise this property up to the same level as Plumtree Lane. So how could there be too steep a slope there? If you're either raising the property up or you're not. So the answer to Easton is different than the answer to Trumbull. So I would suggest you get in touch with Easton and look at the public comment video and read the letters that have been submitted to Easton as well, because it's very informative. The Fairfield Conservation Commission has submitted a letter to the town of Easton indicating that the setback for the Mill River, specifically this area, is 200 feet, not 100 feet. And that this entire project is within the setback for the Mill River. So how is the town of Fairfield's Conservation Commission saying that? You're saying 100 feet, and Easton is trying to figure out what the setback should be. I don't understand how three towns could have different opinions on that. As for the brook that drains across the property, nobody's mentioned the catch drain on the other side of Plumtree Lane. If you look in the catch drain, you will see that brook drains into a separate pipe that goes into that catch basin. That brook that runs down the hill and in front of the neighbor's property across the street, I believe, is Canoe Brook, which is a regulated waterway. Canoe Brook Lake, if you look at the DEP maps, comes out of Canoe Brook Lake, it comes across Madison Avenue, it runs down Buck Hill Road, it goes across the Easton Woods, and it dead ends right on Buttonwood Drive behind Plumtree, 71 Plumtree Lane. Now, where does it go from there? It doesn't roll uphill. So it has to come across Plumtree, down Russ, down Wendy. It feeds the pond, what's known as the Wendy Road Pond, between Russ Road and Wendy Road, and then it goes across Park Avenue. Directly across Wendy Road, on the other side of Park Avenue, is a 14-acre lot owned by the town of Fairfield that is 100% wetlands. It's rivers, lakes, and streams, and it's unbuildable. It's owned by the town. And that's where all of that water comes from. It's flowing from Canoe Brook, and Canoe Brook is a regulated waterway. So those underground streams on Plumtree, Russ, and Wendy have to be being fed by Canoe Brook, and that brook across the street, across Plumtree Lane, is part of that. So that is a regulated waterway, and you do have authority over that. All you need to do is a simple dye test, and I've written to Connecticut DEP to find out how we can do that. I haven't gotten an answer yet. If you put dye in on Buck Hill Road and wait for it to come out, it should come out that brook. Another point I want to make is, as everybody else has said, this is as of October 18th, the state of Connecticut has said we're in a severe drought in this area. So according to the wetlands delineation guidelines, most of them, you're supposed to defer your testing till late spring after the rains to determine whether a property is wetlands or not. There's also other plants and other soil tests you can do during a drought period to determine if a property is wetlands or not. I don't know why that's not being done. But to walk the property and say, oh, it's dry, it's not wetlands, that's not what the guidelines say for wetlands management and determining whether a property is wetlands or not. Finally, somebody else, the lady who spoke before mentioned in Easton it was raised that there's no access to those catch basins under the building, and that needed to be addressed. They also raised the question, apparently, there's only 4 pylons that are going to support this entire building, and they're going to be 6 feet in the ground, which is approximately 10 feet away from the water, the running water, which was found at 16 feet down, which is another thing. At Easton, the developers' agents admitted they found running water under the property. But at the hearing before you, a few weeks ago, they said it was a dry property. So which is it? Is there running water or is it dry? 2 different answers, 2 different towns. So that's why I'm suggesting you get together with Easton and compare notes, because I think it would be very beneficial. Also, the map of 1959 of Andrew Weiss, when this was Lake Hill Estates, in order to put Plumtree Lane in, they had to put in that piping structure for that brook to drain onto 15 Plumtree. So in other words, in order to put a road in, we have a brook going across the road, we got to pipe it so we can pave the road over it. If you look at that map, you will see that 15 Plumtree Lane, the first 12 feet in for the entire front of the property, it says drainage row. And then the entire left side of the property between 5 and 15, that 12 feet swath, which you're calling drainage ditch in discussions, that's 12 feet wide, the drainage row on the 1959 map. Now, why would the town have required that there be a 12-foot drainage row in the front and between the 2 properties? Was it possible the town required that in order to make those 2 buildable lots for single-family residents? I think somebody needs to check the town records and see. But that manhole cover in the middle of the street and the catch basin, that's actually that brook being piped across the road so they could put the road through. Finally, I'll just make a point. If you look at the current deed into 15 Plumtree Lane, there appears to be some sort of a restriction in the deed regarding development that dates back to the 1950s. That current owner may need to get the permission of the other 5 property owners before they can attempt to change any zoning. I haven't read it specifically, but it is in the current deed that there's a deed restriction. And it wouldn't be in the current deed unless the buyer's attorney, the seller's attorney, and the title insurance companies had reviewed it and said, yes, you have to put it in the deed. You just don't throw restrictions in deeds like that unless it runs with the land. So if it's in the deed, it's still valid on the land records. I don't know how the developer's going to address that. But for these and all the reasons I've set forth in my letter, we are strongly opposed to this development. This is a living environment. They're going to cut down all the trees, move all the animals, and throw in an apartment building that's 120% above the national average for low-income housing. A 6-acre lot, the national average is 35 to 42 units. This is 80 units on 4 acres. So by simple math, it's over 120% overdeveloped. Now, I know you take the position you're not going to discuss any zoning, and I understand that. It's not under your authority. But I do believe you can discuss and consider the effect of zoning changes on inland wetlands. Not the change itself, but what the effect of that change will be on inland wetlands, and I think that's more than a reasonable thing. Also attached to my letter is the most recent decision from 2019 from the appellate court. Whatever decision you make, for or against, if you list your rules and regulations and the criteria for which you make a decision, and then the evidence you considered and what you discussed in writing up your decision, that memorandum of decision, the appellate court has said they will not disturb your decision as long as it's not arbitrary, capricious, or illegal. In that memorandum of decision, they also say that protection of inland wetlands and watercourses trumps 8-33G affordable housing. Protection of the drinking water is of more importance than putting in affordable housing. So those are the two important points from that decision that was issued to the town of Easton just in 2019 on the Saddle Ridge development on Sport Hill Road. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And if I could just ask one last question. Of the people from the public are here, how many people are for this? How many people are against? So everybody in this room is against this development, just so you know, in case you were wondering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe DiStefano. I'm at 18 Plum Tree Lane. It's directly across from 15. I'm going to refrain from reading my letter because I just submitted it. Also, don't want to be too repetitive, but I will ask if you can investigate a manhole that's on my driveway, at the end of my driveway. I think that has something to do with what Jonathan just said about the brooks from the storm drains. If you could let me know, I'm just kind of curious on that. Those storm drains are almost instantly clogged every storm. So if I don't go out there and clean them, they're just instantly clogged up with debris. It happens very quickly. They might be clear now because I just did them the other day. And as far as that ditch goes, I'll be happy to video or take pictures when there is the roaring rapids going down the street. 'Cause that also happens often. And again, we're in a drought. So I guess that's one reason why you're all not seeing that when you take your 3 minutes walks on the property. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Charles Sturback. I'm at 78 Russ Road, and I have a pond in the back of my property. It's between Russ Road and Wendy Road. And each day, I take a look at the two sources that go into the pond, and they've dried up. So this definitely is a drought year. And then also on my daily walks, I walk around Wendy Road, and I see the source that goes into, there's two sources, but one source that goes into it and it's dried up, even after heavy rainstorms too. Second item is that I also own property at Trumbulltown Commons for 29 years, so I agree with what Mike has presented. And I agree with our fellow neighbors, and I know in the previous conference call back in October, one of you guys asked about the trees that are on the property, how many trees would be taken down. And they haven't reported on that. So that's the second time that you've had to ask that. So they're avoiding it. So thank you, and thank you for your time.
I didn't mean to bug you.
You never bug.
Sorry.
My name's James Cosgrove, 2 Plum Tree Lane. I would be right across from this undertaking. Everybody's basically covered all the important points, especially I would recommend again that you coordinate with the town of Easton. But I would just say I've lived there since 1982, and we are in a dry period, but I've been there so many years where water streams down that house. Down the street, my house has been flooded, the basement. I had to put a curtain drain in my basement because even last spring, if you look, and if you drove around in the fall, actually, if you drove around Easton, we had a really rainy day. Maybe it was that August day that the gentleman here was referring to, but you could just see the water pouring down. So I would recommend strongly that you also follow up and have the perk test done when it's a much more wet season, like after the end of winter, the middle of spring. But I can actually testify. I've tried to grow grass on Plumtree, and you can see the water flow just takes the grass out. It's a wet area, so it's hard to believe that the findings that they presented, the developers' findings, that there is no water or wetlands that would be affected by this thing. That's my comment. Thank you.
Basil Maslow at 62 Plumtree Lane.
If you would, to the microphone, please, sir. Thank you.
I agree with everything that's
You
been
have
said.
to give your name and address to the
Basil
microphone, sir.
Maslow, 62 Plumtree Lane.
Thank you.
I've been at this address for 53 years, so I know the newcomers and the oldcomers, and I know what's been going on in the neighborhood for all these years. I've been living there before the sewers came in and all that other stuff, and I just want to say that I support everything that was said tonight, and I really don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Thank you. There is it. Anyone else from the public? If not, I'm going to ask Attorney Bellis to come up and address the comments.
Good evening, thank you. Some of the case law does allow a wetlands commission to have conditions in its approval, and I just wanted to tell the commission that the applicant wouldn't have any opposition to putting in conditions such as that were raised, labeling all the trees that were 6-inch caliper or larger, showing the stairs on the wall going down to the behind the rear of the property, moving some of the plantings that were near the buildings. I think that was raised. Adding different plantings depending on the height near the utility poles. All those sorts of things, the applicant has no objection to the commission making those conditions of approval. So that I just wanted to make that clear. As far as the comments from the public, a lot of the comments don't pertain specifically to the fact that the Wetlands Commission is only allowed to decide how this project impacts on the wetlands and watercourses. It doesn't have anything to do with the sewer system. It doesn't have anything to do with the fire trucks. It doesn't have anything to do with zoning. I think you all know that. So those issues may be important. It's just not important for this commission, that's all. I'm not belittling what the public has to say. It just is not what your commission is empowered to decide. What I do know is that that due process requires that if someone's going to submit an expert's report, that expert either be here and present it himself or someone from his office. I have no idea, the woman who read into the record a letter, what that pertained to. I don't know what that gentleman reviewed, so I don't think it's appropriate for you to consider those comments. Similarly, looking at what was said in Easton has nothing to do with what's before this commission. I was the attorney there. I don't recall saying anything any different than what I said to you people, but you never know. The idea is that you are to listen to the evidence that's presented to this commission, and based on that evidence, make a decision or finding. And I think the evidence is clear that there is not going to be any specific harm that can be pinpointed to say that this is going to cause a problem or cause a significant impact that's articulated in your regulations. And I'm not going to go through them all, but those are the activities that have to be looked at. As far as denying a permit, the case law is pretty clear. In order to deny a permit, the commission must determine that the proposed activity will have a likely impact based on substantial evidence. Evidence of potential damage based on mere possibility or a worry are insufficient. That's the estate of Mikowski versus Inland Wetlands, 137 Con-App 830 of 2012. In Three Levels Corporation, the court said even a general statement from an expert that some type of adverse impact is likely to result from a regulated activity is not sufficient to deny the requested permit. So I think that the commission has to look at what has been offered into the evidence, and that is the evidence that was given by Michael Lambert as to the storm drainage system, the evidence from Matt Popp, a biology scientist who says that there's not going to be an impact if the following erosion control measures are maintained, and that the following storm drainage system is put in. And that's the evidence that's before you. Anecdotal things about flooding or problems with a river is not what we're here to hear. It's whether this project will cause an impact on that wetlands or the watercourse. And I've listened to everything that everyone has said, and I have not heard or seen substantial evidence that can point to a specific problem that's going to happen. A couple issues were raised, and I'd be or questioned, but I think they were adequately answered about the dumpster area and so on. I think the bottom line is that this project is going to be helping the existing situation where we now have water just going down Plumtree, kind of making a right-hand turn and going straight down towards the Mill River without it being cooled, without it being cleaned. And what I've seemed to hear is more of a drainage ditch from Plumtree down to the river. I think what Michael Lambert has proposed makes sense to me, that will be collected through a couple of pipes and then will be sent through a large cement level spreader, and I think that'll improve the situation on the property. It's an improvement in my mind. So I think that clearly is an improvement. I think that the galleys that are proposed have been used all over this town, all over all the towns around here, and they have been effective in catching, collecting, and slowly discharging the water back into the ground. So I don't see how that could be a problem, why you have to have an open detention or retention system. That is one way of doing it, but not on a smaller site. So I don't see anything that has been raised here tonight that would allow the commission to say, Steve, we got a real problem. This is specifically what's going to happen, and this is what's going to be a significant impact on the property. I just haven't heard it. I'm sorry. I'll answer any of your questions. I understand that there may be opposition to the project itself. I get it. I mean, I hear that loud and clear. But that's not why I'm here tonight. I'm only here to hear your opinion on whether this project will impose a significant impact on those wetlands. And specifically tell me what that impact is and why. And if we can fix that, we will. And if we can't, we can't. But I haven't heard that. I have no problem working with the commission, and if there's something that you want me to answer, I'll get you the answer. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead,
Through
Carmine.
the chair. Attorney Bellis, this commission on numerous other applications have requested that trees 6 inches and larger be marked.
Okay.
We're not going to be making it a condition of approval. We need that information before we come to a vote.
Understood. Yeah.
So if you can let us know when those will be
See,
marked.
something like that, I have no problem doing that.
Those have to be added to the survey
Yes, sir.
for the entire property.
In Trumbull's.
The entire property.
Easton too? I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't want to do it wrong
I
and
think
come
it's
back.
only. I think it's only fair to say the entire property because, you're having an effect over the entire property.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I just want to know.
mean-
Yeah. So you want me to? I'll put it on the survey.
Yes, that information should be added to the survey.
Okay. I wrote that down myself, so I have that.
And typically, we have, ribbons put on the trees that will be removed.
Oh yeah, when they're cut, I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
so that we can look at it and see firsthand. Because undoubtedly, we're going to be having to walk out again.
Okay. I got it.
I have multiple questions.
Good, David.
The engineer who did the soil testing, what was the type and composition of the soils found in the deep test pits? And do those soils provide adequate filtration of pollutants before they would travel underground into the watershed? Certainly, sandy soils, free draining soils, which it looks like this property has, would allow the migration of hydrocarbons, oils, that sort of stuff through the watershed down into the river. So we need to know the types of those soils and can they provide adequate filtration?
I just want to be clear. I understand your question. So, not the. Are you referring to the geotechnical engineering report that I gave you in Exhibit 6? The borings, those borings.
It might be, but I didn't have a chance to review those.
Oh, okay.
Those may have come in today.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know where you meant Bill Kenny when he does his auger.
No, I'm not concerned
Okay.
about the
I'll let
auger.
Michael answer that.
We're talking about the deep test pits to see the condition of the soils.
Yeah. So, yeah, the deep test pits, they were all fine sandy gravel soils, all would corresponds with a hydraulic soil group as classified as B under the 2024 manual. Both the 2 test pits and the 2 borings that were done within the area of the infiltration system, all 4 test results did provide us a designation of a base soil, which would be the fine sandy loam, fine sandy gravel.
So fine sandy loams and fine sandy gravels are free draining. What would be the drainage rate for those? Is that a 1 in 10, 1 in 20?
I mean, the perk rate that was done on site was a 1 in 8.
1 in 8. So those are very free draining soils.
Correct.
So do those soils provide adequate filtration for oils, hydrocarbons, that sort of stuff that could get into your drainage system, go down through those soils, and migrate to the Mill River?
Yes. So, yeah.
It is your professional opinion that they will stop that?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Has DEEP commented on this application, or have they been reviewed it? Southern District, have they reviewed it?
Not to my knowledge.
I would be interested to get their feedback on this application. And Attorney Bellis, I disagree with you. I do believe that this project has a significant impact in what has been identified as a critical watershed by both Easton, Fairfield, Trumbull, and the DEP. It is vital to drinking waters, etc. The reduction in tree canopy, the redirection of overland and subsurface flows due to this development will have a negative impact on the wetlands in that they're directing water away from portions of the wetlands that could end up in reduced flows to that wetland, particularly at the southern end of the property. And I do believe that this building with this excessive size and volume will have significant impact on the wetlands resources on this property.
You're entitled to your opinion, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you.
And since we
Yeah.
don't have the information on the trees and the reduction of the overall tree canopy, right now I'm saying the reduction in tree canopy is going to have an impact. And when you can provide all of the trees
Yeah.
on the survey and
You may have
shows
another
that
opinion, yeah.
it won't, that stands.
Understood.
As far as one of the comments about the fill, I've been working on a lot of projects in New York. They do require trucks who bring in fill or topsoil to be, the soils to be tested, and tickets for every load of fill. So that would be something that would be in any conditions on any sort of project for
Yeah,
this.
I agree. They should have clean fill, yeah.
The tickets provided.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it for now.
Okay.
Okay. Through the chair.
Go ahead, John.
To add on to what David just was saying, when I look through these documents, I don't see any construction staging plans, the order of what things are going to be done. I think we should have another sheet in here that details that. I mean, we have an erosion control plan here that says, oh, we're going to put a temporary ditch here, and then we're going to take it back out.
Yeah.
I'd like to see all the steps that are going to be listed.
I'm sorry, I just missed that
I'd like to
last-
get all the steps listed for construction of this site, the staging plan itself.
What he's asking, Attorney Bellis, it's like when we get a subdivision, let's say they're doing 8 houses. Are they planning on coming in and clear cutting, or are they going to phase it?
Yeah.
Go lot by lot? We kind of like to know that because of the impact it's going to have.
Perhaps you would
I
build
think I understand the
the
question.
apartment first and the townhouse
Yeah, I
second.
think I get it. Okay. I don't have that answer.
I know you
but
have a
can provide-
stockpile of soil in the backyard. Is that going to work, of the house? Is that going to work for the whole project? You know, that's the kind of things we need to review.
Also, snow storage.
Yeah,
It's
I-
got to be determined yet.
What's-
Snow storage.
Yeah, we didn't, also with the point of snow storage came up, and we didn't have that addressed. I don't believe
Yeah, I
about
have that in my notes. I
Okay.
I
We'd
heard
like to hear
someone say-
about that, too.
Through the chair.
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I have one question. I think he's not here. Mr. Ryder, we had this whole discussion of this one area where we have, I don't know what we call it, the stormwater, the pipe and the stormwater trench that moves through there. Is it wetlands or is it not? Inspecting, I didn't see plants, that type of thing. It wasn't wet. I just go back, I think it was asked the question, did anybody take a soil sample? And he ducked it. And I always go back to Connecticut, to define a wetlands, you need a soil sample.
Yeah.
So I would say, I'm not convinced that that area, we have a definitive answer. It's all over the place. But I would say we need a true soil sample to determine.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. I think that for wetlands, we do define it by using soil samples. I think, in all fairness to the gentleman that was speaking, he was trying to determine whether it was an intermittent water course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was asked a question.
Yeah, I can't speak for him, but I understand what you're saying.
And I just found, I meant to follow up, and it just flashed on me here.
Yeah.
I thought he ducked the question. He didn't, he obviously, there's no sample.
I didn't see it in his report, but that doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
Greg, I'm assuming you'd want several, not just one.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
We're going to probably have to meet and discuss this, and I don't even know how we get comfortable with who does the work. Because everybody's got a different opinion on this. I don't know if we can get an agreement with our town engineering group, with your
Well, we
team.
paid the town, I don't recall the amount, to hire the peer review. We didn't select the gentleman.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We just gave you the money. And you picked who you wanted. Yeah. I had no say in that.
But I'm not, that area, I'm not convinced we've close that issue out.
Okay. I can talk to my soil scientist and have him do some auger tests. And I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be like near the road?
Yeah, I know.
Let's say
I
down, you know,
walked
like
it, so I
4 or 5,
remember
okay.
where we're talking about.
Yeah, I remember.
But
I
thank you.
was there with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
Yes, back in June.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rich, did you have a comment?
Thank you. A couple comments. First of all, what Mr. Cernica said, that I agree. I had significant issues, significant concerns with that area near the riprap. A couple of things were brought up throughout that hour of testimony. One of them had to do with fisheries. I assume that Deep or Southwest would be able to give us an accurate determination of. We were told the fish count had been significantly decreased.
Just to correct on one thing, Southwest wasn't involved this time. We didn't bring them into this.
Okay, so just Deep.
Yeah.
Okay. These numbers have decreased significantly. I'd be interested to know why. There was a mention, and there was a mention of a deed restriction. If there is a deed restriction, everything's dead in the water. It'd be nice to know if we can even move forward.
As far as I know, it has no impact on this project.
Okay.
I wasn't the closing attorney, but I asked, and they're not concerned about it.
Okay. There was also a mention of, I believe it was the end of. Someone said that the Canoe Brook ends at or near 71 Plumtree. I don't know. We've never considered that. Where does that water go? Certainly it ends up somewhere. Does it go down in sheet flow? Is it some other piping that's already been taken care of? Somewhat unclear. I'd like to determine, first of all, if that water does flow down, and secondly, if it's relevant to the application, then what's the amount? Since that is significantly higher grade than this project. There was a question about deferring perk tests till the spring. I don't know if someone, one of the staff or you, sir, could explain if the perk tests that already occurred are valid because they happened during a severe drought. And that's it for now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any of the other commissioners? John, you're good? Tatiana or John, our town engineers, any comments?
Richard? We believe, sorry, there is a significant impact. Would alternatives be required? We believe that there is a significant impact.
Let me discuss that with our attorney.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
It's up to the applicant to decide whether they should be presenting a feasible or prudent alternative. You've requested one, and you've stated that reason on the record, so.
Okay, thank you.
Tatiana?
We'll be providing a written report, a full review, but as I said earlier, if you could please send us a full package, that would be very helpful.
I sent a full package. I'm a little confused on that.
I believe the plans, just please make sure that the latest plans dated today, it is a full set. Okay?
So
maybe you
just so we're clear on this, I sent, because I never got your peer review from you. You never gave it to me. I asked for it and never got it, but be that as it may, there's a storm drainage report that's 164 pages, and sometimes if I send it as a PDF, it bounces. So I send it as a Dropbox. Jason Edwards sent it in a Dropbox. In my exhibits, I didn't attach the 164 pages. I just attached up to the conclusion, and all the appendixes are in the Dropbox. That's just computers. I can't help it.
On other applications with large files, we had them set up a shared folder and just drop all the files in one folder so that we don't have to combine different pages. We don't know what was revised. and what we have to review or not. So, thank you.
I'll be glad to send it one more time.
I appreciate it.
Okay. But it'll be in a Dropbox, if that's okay. Okay.
All right, and before our next meeting, if you can make sure we get the count of the trees, that they're
Yep.
properly marked, snow storage.
Got it.
Development plans, phasing plans, and while you've got it, try to figure out an area that you might be able to give us some remediation from all the trees that are coming down. Where, 'cause normally, we've always required 3 for every 1 tree going down. It's a tight lot, so.
I'll
Give you
discuss
something
that
to
with
give
Matt.
thought to.
Yeah.
David, you had a comment?
Is there any way to get some comment back from Deep on this application?
Well, Deep doesn't have any jurisdiction under, unfortunately, they, if you have your, on issues like this for the local upland review areas, they just, they tell me that they don't have jurisdiction.
Well, they would have jurisdiction over that fisheries report, right?
I don't know. I only deal with them when we get to the high tides, like along the sound, because they take that away from your local wetlands commissions, and they take control over those applications. But
Right.
they won't. They've given the local community jurisdiction over the wetlands, so they're not going to step on your toes.
Are you familiar with the Mill River study?
I'm not. I've heard them. I don't know the study. I heard one of the speakers reference it, but
Right.
yeah.
It does have specific recommendations in there. Maybe that's something you can look at and see if you're in compliance with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I'm aware that there's been some pollution problems, prior to this, obviously, that they're having trouble figuring out how to fix it.
We don't want to contribute to it.
No.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments for Attorney Bellis before I go to Land Tech? We're good?
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you,
and
Attorney Bellis.
I'll see you in a month, I guess, right?
Um,
Jim and I were just speaking.
Yes.
He didn't really want me to come with your regular meetings. So
We're looking at a possible date of January 13th for a special meeting.
Okay.
Would you consent the 5 additional days that we would need?
Yeah,
to
yes, I
extend the hearing?
would.
Thank you,
If that's the
Counselor.
day you all decide.
Thank you. I guess they'll have to decide that in a minute, but
January 13th is fine.
thank you, sir.
Okay, see you in a month. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and everybody else, thanks.
I believe
Just
I-
identify yourself
Tom Ryder,
again.
Land Tech, senior ecologist with Land Tech. I believe I had a question from one of the commissioners about me ducking a question about the channel. Was that directed toward me?
Taking samples. You were asked if you took soil samples.
Then I said yes. There were multiple samples. It's a probe. It's not a sample. What you do is you probe down and you look at the redoxymorphic features and you look at the soil profile, and then you determine if that soil is wetland or not. And I just had numerous conversations with the soil scientist, and I just texted him just now, and yes, he confirmed multiple locations were in the channel were taken. None of them are wetland soils, and as you know, wetland soils are wetlands are determined by wetland soils only, not by vegetation, not by hydrology, but by wetlands or by vegetation. Or sorry, by soils only. And he took one up by the road. I asked him this specifically. It was right at the base. There's a riprap. Comes out the culvert. There's riprap, and right at the base of the riprap, which is the first part of the soil, he took one there as well, and that is not wetland soil. So we did do a thorough investigation of that. I don't remember ducking that question, but if it wasn't clear, I'm explaining it now. As for the, it's in the soils report that we provided to you. Well, not those specific locations, but the determination and how everything was done is in that report. Also, the Mill River report. this is kind of outside of this, but it's kind of relevant. I'm also doing an environmental review for the town of Easton. And in that review, we had referenced a number of times, well, a couple times, the Mill River reports. And made recommendations as to how the applicant should accommodate to that report. So that report has been put into the record on the eastern side. We can provide it to you if you'd like to provide it, for us to provide it to you as part of for your records as well.
All right.
It would have to be emailed. It's fairly thick. It's a couple hundred pages. But it is very detailed. It's been put out quite a while ago. And that's where a lot of the information from my, a lot of my comments were obtained from. So I just wanted to clarify all this before I sat back down.
Well, we have Tom here. Any questions? Anything that came up? John, you're good? I'm good. Tatiana, John?
Mr. Chairman, it appears to be a member of the public. I don't know if he's allowed to.
Can he come back
Ask a
up?
question.
Public? All right. Just as a side, normally, once we've closed it, we've done, but
just
we
wanted to ask a
will
question.
accommodate you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a question. If I have a follow-up comment, should I submit it in a supplemental letter or make it now? Which is the appropriate?
Submit it, right? Or do you want to do it now?
Either is fine, sir.
Oh, okay. My only comment was going to be 12 feet across the river was DiNardo's farm, which is now the Prayer Center and the Andrew J. Capinzi Wildlife Preserve. How can anybody say that that land was wetlands and watershed and protected, but literally 12 feet across the river is not? That is not logical. It makes no sense.
Well,
You're
unfortunately, you're discussing Easton, and that's not our purview.
It's the same river.
But again, it's not our purview, because
Same-
in fact, when we did the walk in June, that came out with the applicant. What's Easton is Easton, what's Trumbull is Trumbull. And we don't have a say over it.
That's going to result in a lawsuit.
Well, so, we're good? All right. Attorney Bellis. Attorney Bellis, did you have anything to say before we adjourn? All right. All right. Good night. Thank you all for coming. We're going to be adjourning very shortly here. Okay. Greg, I need a motion to continue the public hearing to January 13th, 2026. The time and location is to yet be determined. Yeah.
Yes.
And it will be via Zoom.
I'd like to make a motion that application 2525, 15 Plum Tree LLC permit, approval for construct a 3-story apartment building and attached townhouses, retaining walls, subsurface stormwater detention, level spreaders, sidewalks and storm drainage within a regulated area at 5 and 15 Plum Tree Lane be continued on January 13th, 2026, time and location TBD.
It will be Zoom.
It will be a Zoom meeting.
Time is to be determined, whether it's 6, 7,
TBD.
or whatever.
Okay.
Just for the record, that's a continuation of the public hearing. to the-
Continuation of a public
Thank you,
hearing.
sir.
The applicant's attorney
Has agreed to.
agreed to the extension.
I need a second. Seconded by David. All in favor?
You already know I'm no.
It's unanimous. Very.
No.
What?
No. I voted
No? Okay. All right. Pardon? That's in. Haven't adjourned. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, if there be no reason, we shall adjourn. If there be no objection. Thank you all. Good night, all. Thank you, Tom. Nice job.
Hearing